I have survived 10,000 days in this hardcore Minecraft world without dying. Over 2,000 hours have went into building up a massive medieval fantasy world full of interconnected civilizations trying to bring the world to life. More than 5 million blocks have been mined up and nearly 2.5 million blocks have been placed. With over 3.5 years spent on this, I have absolutely fallen in love with this Minecraft world. So I am extremely excited to give you a tour around my world. Click the like button if you are excited, and please consider subscribing if you enjoy what you see today. Also, there's a world download available to tier 1 supporters or higher for Twitch subs, YouTube members, and Patreon supporters. Join my Discord, linked in the description for more information. This is it. Right here is where it all began. Right here's the little border between the chunks, and I spawned in one of the 4 of these. I can't remember the exact block that I spawned on. All I know, it was a summer right over here, and I placed my first crafting table in the world right here as this block. I have never moved it. I've left it there the entire time, even though it's in a very awkward position. And since then, a lot has spawned up here around... No, I don't want to die in a berry bush, please. But a lot has spawned up here around world spawn. So this building is an iron farm. We've got a moss farm that is currently broken. The iron farm, you can see the villagers running around. That thing is unfortunately just outside of the new smaller spawn chunks since I created this world so long ago. So it actually doesn't work anymore, and that's a bit of a bummer. Right in here, we've just got a little house if I ever need to run in and get a safe place if I jump out of the end. This is a cactus farm that doesn't work either, I believe, because I thought they could work normally in spawn chunks, and you learn things, and oh, actually, I guess it does work now, right? New update fixed it, so this actually runs now. Great! I have a cactus farm! Oh, I didn't know that either. We can walk on up this direction past our iron farm. I went for like this ruined look with a lot of stained glass, as originally I wanted like a magical element incorporating amethyst, because those were pretty new back then. And then I didn't really do a whole lot on it, but this is kind of meant to look like a tower and like the outside frame of a structure over here, just for something kind of cool, as the magic's still like holding together the shape of the building. I have an absolute ton of farmland around this world that is super fun. Inside of here, we do have a very important place of this is the output of an automatic wheat farm that I have. So all of it gets compacted down here into hay bales, and extra seeds and things go into there. And the automatic wheat farm no longer is in spawn chunks either, but it does sit right up here. Oh, there you can hear it going off right now with the note blocks. But this is my mess of an automatic wheat farm tower in here. I'm a little ashamed by it, but we have a villager on every single floor, and we have some bees in there flying around. And then we have a Lays that should be picking up the wheat and dropping it off over there, but he looks to have a full inventory or something. We might have to come in and do a little bit of maintenance, but for now, it is working pretty well. And if I ever need hay bales, there's always some in there, so it can't be that broken. But this turns us around to where we're headed back towards my starter base. That tower right up there is the edge of my starter base. And since then, we have expanded throughout this world like crazy. We've got a little tiny village down here, just literally to be more houses here between all of the farmland, to make it look more realistic, with people actually living in here to work the fields and everything. Nothing is really going on with these. It's just a tiny hamlet of sorts with access to a small pond right in here, and they got a little boat and outdoor smithing area, and you can see a glimpse into everything else we have going on. Cherry trees were new, so I built a quote cherry tree orchard, even though I know these Minecraft cherry trees don't actually have fruit to them. I thought it was just kind of a cool way to incorporate some of the trees. We'll walk over that way soon, but first we're gonna head up here, running by our automatic sheep farm. This is one of the few that I have in the world. I actually haven't been in here since they updated it, and it does look like a few more of them are starting to run out of shears finally. It took just about 9,900 days for that to happen. And then we got a little Jeb sheep sitting up there in the window just to show all the different colors pretty easily. And if I ever needed some bulk shearing, I have some extra sheep out here that I can go hang out with for a bit. This cobblestone wall was actually, I believe, the episode 2 project. There's no way I'm going to be doing any of this in order of the episodes, because I don't remember what I did when. But right up here, we've got ourselves an automatic potato farm, and good thing he's leaving the poisonous potato on the ground. And then on this side, we have an automatic carrot farm. And then inside of both of these houses, you can see there's another villager sitting right behind that trap door, and there's a hopper inside of it, so they throw the crops to them, and then all those crops get thrown down in here, and you can see it's been working very well. Same goes for the carrots into that building, and I had meant to reroute them into here, but this is a way that connects up to my villager breeder we'll be visiting a little bit later on, down in a Dwarven villager trading cave, as I call it. But we've got our first beetroot field right in here as we're sloping up to this building, which is now a pale moss farm. It was originally a moss farm, but I converted it to pale moss after that came out, and there's a little in here. Yeah, we got a little extra. It was another early project that was very helpful to have as we're moving up into my starter base area, and it looks like a bird fell off. This is my burb tree. I have a lot of parrots sitting in the burb tree, so they're all over the place. Every parrot that I found for the first like 8,000 days probably, I brought back and just put in the tree. Over here we have my first animal barn, so we have some sheep in there, we have pigs over there, and they're getting everywhere. And then we had cows out here just hanging out, doing all their cool stuff. It was just a good way to get all of the animals together until I realized that sheep actually need grass in order to regrow their wool. So haven't had too much wool coming out of that place. Over here, we've got a little smithy that I set up about when we had netherite added into the game. So I still use this today for all of my netherite forging that I need to do. I'll just run in here and add and create whatever I need to do. I do have a bunch of extra tools and books and things hanging out in these spots, so if I ever need new tools, we got efficiency 4 in there, we've got mending, and we've got unbreaking and fortune 3 in there, and I believe silk touch is somewhere around. I might have used them all actually, but I have my first little tiny stables that has my first donkey and my first mule in there. And I believe this was one of my first horses. Well, no, this is Mustard, who's my newly retired horse. Almost the fastest, but then I found a faster one, which is even better. And up here is my starter house. This is where the entire place expanded from this building here. And I actually still use this as my storage room for the most part. So I've got a lot of copper up here. I've got a lot of their other goodies in all the barrels. I've slowly moved items throughout the world into their own unique storage rooms that we'll get into soon. But you can still see I'm actively using a lot of this space in here. And we've got a lot of our riches and stuff over in there. Even underneath the floorboard, we have a lot of wither skeleton skulls and blocks of coal if I ever need them. And then my bed where we can take a sleep right up here. We got a little map for the first buried treasure map that I ever found, and then just some extra random diamond goodies in here. Extra empty shulker boxes stored up in the attic, along with just a random skeleton skull in the first deep dark that I explored. I just left all of that loot up here because I didn't really need it. This right here heads across the road into the tower, where at the top of the tower I have my enchanting setup. So this thing has been pretty useful, and we got a few extra books in here. This is actually still the enchanting setup. If I ever need to enchant anything, I head all the way up there. It's kind of nice to still be able to revisit and still be using the things that I started with building when I made this world originally, and so it's super fun for that. And then just a random little offshoot over here, we can get a very cool view of the valley all the way across the world tree, custom mountains over there with the obelisk sitting on it, as this is my lumber storage area. As mentioned, I moved a lot of materials out into the world so that I'm constantly exploring around to look back at everything that I have created. So in here you can see all of the logs auto sort into there, and then I manually sort all of the extra things into their own over here with the sign matching to what's actually stored in it. Since new log types have been added, we now have our bamboo and our cherry in there, and then over here we now have our pale wood as well. One more wood type, and then this thing is full to the brim, and I'm gonna need to look into another solution. But for now, I really like it, and it's super fun to be able to have all of my wood materials in one place that kind of makes sense world lore wise. I don't do a whole lot of lore in this world, but I do want everything here to look like it could feasibly exist, is my goal for all of it. There's a lot of fantastical elements, and I'm just trying to tell the story of the world and how it all comes together in just kind of like a fun Minecrafty plus way. This structure right in here is my first sugarcane farm. We have a much larger one now, but this one still helps with at least like supplying enough paper for making rockets to keep my box filled up. As you can see, it's never super full. One of my also early inventions in this world is this mine right over here. You can see a water elevator system coming there to put things into the side, as I have a storage system right here. And the way this mine works is you can click this, go all the way down, and there's different levels. And on each of the levels, there's an elevator system that will send the items all the way up to the top, so that I can just do a lot of mining, drop it in a chest, and continue mining early on before I had shulker boxes, and I didn't have to worry about my inventory filling up, because I just go back to that hub on the level, and then I would just send it all up to the surface. Headed out this direction, we have my episode 3 castle. Before, it was cool to do mega builds in episode 1. We did one on episode 3. So we have what is now the map room castle. I just really wanted to build a giant bridge spanning across this valley, and then the castle just kind of came along with it, is the whole idea. And so we can head on up here to where I am now expanding off to the far side of it, which is very, very fun. We can see from on the bridge, but inside of here, I still need to decorate this space out, but down here we have all of the original maps that I have saved. So every few episodes, I save a new map. So you can see episode 3, before this castle was even built, we have our starter house and all of those. I'm not going to go through every single one of these. You can check them out in the world download, but you can see episode 12 right there. We have our first village coming up there, some of the farmlands growing and all those things. Here in the middle, I have a guardian tank up above us. We have a glow squid tank down below, and we have a tank themed after different tropical fish and different colors of coral throughout. So you can see this one is all red coral in there. We have all the yellow corals in there, and it's just kind of a fun little central room. And then this here is a lot of maps that take us all the way down to the most recent one that was at the end of last episode, episode 92, for 10,000 days in this world. You can see this region of it has grown like crazy. Give a little bit of a closer view here so you can get a good glimpse around. You can pause if you'd like to look into it a little bit more, but we have so much to explore today. So we can take the secret exit right on out of here and over to the bridge where I've updated with beacon lights, because why not? You'll see over this direction, I've been carving out a large river. I did make this one when I built the episode 3 castle that cuts all the way through there to reach the new river. We'll get to that soon. There's a bat flying around up there. Hi, buddy. But first, we need to dive down here into my villager trading cave. Instead of a big trading hall, I wanted to build a trading cave in the theme of a dwarven village, as I found this giant cavern in here, flooded the bottom of it with some water. And since I have just been expanding it to different villager trading rooms inside each of the buildings. So in here, we have all of the fishermen that I could ever need to trade with, as they sell campfires, which is an amazing trade. These buildings are currently unused, so we could add some more villager stuff in there if we need to. Up in this point in here, I have a super smelter that's absolutely amazing with 64 furnaces down here that just cooks things so fast. It's not the most glamorous thing in there, but it does get the job done. So I wanted a foundry to kind of show that off, where over here up this staircase, we have our cleric villagers. I need a lot more of these, so I'm going to expand them soon for another trading room elsewhere, because I want a lot more redstone dust. And with all the villagers in here, it's kind of starting to add a little bit of lag in this part of the world. So I need to start moving villagers away from here to keep it a little bit better. But that villager breeder I mentioned earlier is actually right here. This has supplied all of the villagers I can need. They drop down here. We have a great system where you can send them in here, lock in a trade for them. They go this way. They meet a zombie whose name is Undead Sausage. And then we send them up here so they can get reincorporated into the society. So we put a few of them over here. They can become great villagers, super cheap trades. And I can throw a single potion right here in the middle. Or actually, I throw one here and one here. And so 2 potions can cure 8 zombies as long as I have the golden apples for it, which we've got extra golden apples in there. Early on into the hardcore world, I was trying to think of new ways to do things and also cheaper ways of doing things, so that helped a ton when we start looking in rooms like this one with all of my stonemasons. No, it's not just the 1 layer. It now goes 3 layers back with stonemasons to trade things. On the far side down here was my original way of making a lot of emeralds. We have our farmer villagers in here that will all trade either melons or pumpkins, so I can use that for early game emerald generation. Don't use it too much anymore. As I started doing what's kind of an exploit, but I think it's fine, of you can have librarians who will sell you glass for super cheap, and then if you have cartographer villagers, they will buy glass panes. And as long as you cure your cartographer villagers once, you'll get a slight profit off of each round of trading for it, so you can just kind of cycle between all of them to get all of the emeralds you need. Every single one of these librarian villagers has a unique book trade to it of some sorts, so I have all of the enchanted books I could ever need, and we can just make unlimited emeralds if I spend enough time in there. To the last trading room that I have down here, we can head all the way up to the top where we have a giant anvil to symbolize the smiths. I really want to expand this one as I'm really using iron for emeralds nowadays, but outside of that, they also trade all of our diamond tools, so I can always start from those instead of purchasing my own diamond tools. So I use those guys fairly regularly when I want to get new things into the mix. Down here, we have a whole system for amethyst mining if we ever need to do it. We've got our nether wart field right over there too, just for some extra vibes in the cave. And then inside of here, I have a minecart network that hooks up 4 different amethyst geodes So I can get in the minecart and I can just click go. And I can just click go. Yeah, I'm going. Yeah, now we're going. So it'll send all those. I can harvest from those two, get on this minecart track, and it'll take me down to the next one, which is super fun to be able to just move in a different way throughout the world. And that brings me right here into this guy. Can harvest this one, and then I can either go down that way if I'd like to, or I could just, go back the other way. But this is a great way that I can get all of them. I built these platforms throughout so I can reach pretty much every single amethyst cluster, and I was so careful to not break anything. And I'm sure eventually these farms will be completely worthless because I will accidentally mine all of the amethyst buds, but that's okay. For now, it's great. Exiting out of the cave, didn't hit my head at all. We have our vineyard right down here. Well, actually, first right over here, we got our first ever sniffers in the world. They're still hanging out over here. Look at them still sniffing up some seeds. And then we move into the sweetberry vineyard, which inside of this houses a, you guessed it, sweetberry farm. We have some foxes inside that are just constantly harvesting sweetberries, and it is way too absurdly good. I cannot use sweetberries fast enough to clear this thing out. I don't know why I made such a good farm, but it's literally just this with 2 foxes. They're just going ham. They're going ham down here. They're three foxes. Okay, yeah. I have a lot of sweetberries and I don't know what to do with them, but that's fine. I also believe I do have some extra foxes hanging out. Well, I got one. They're snoozing right over there. I think there was a second, but he might have escaped. Back over towards the tree, however, we can wander down this way into the quarry, which actually just serves as a stone storage room. So it's got a lot of decoration, cranes and pathways and big geometric shaped rocks to look like they're a bit more man-made if people been chopping away at them. And then inside of here, we have my massive stone storage room. So we got our stones, cobbles, deep slates, nether and end blocks. We've got tuff and dripstone, diorite and andesite, bricks, granites, and terracottas in there. And it's just really nice to be able to have this middle area if I'm laying out shulkers and all that. And I can easily grab everything I need. We're not going to go this way quite yet, but if you head right down there, you can get into the back entrance for the city of Path, which we'll check out in just a moment. I would instead like to go from the front. And first over here, we need to finish off this region of the world, as we have a small little house for some dogs, which I believe are named Geo and Sky. Yeah, there's Sky. Oh, ow, ow. Okay, no thank you. Please tell me Geo. Yeah, Geo's right here too. A few more farmhouses hidden down here and extra fields and all that good stuff. And then right over here, we've got my fishing area with a giant fish that definitely was pulled out of this lake. This was originally where I would come to fish and hang out, so you can see some of the loot still in here. I don't use it too much anymore. This has kind of been taken over by a very, very family-friendly, hospitable, no need to talk to PETA at all turtle farm right over here. I don't know what that turtle's doing. We're gonna leave now. Yep, there's the turtle farm right there. Right over here we got a, wow, look at this, another little farmhouse, more fields, windmills. Oh boy, I'm gonna try and hit as many things as I can today, but there's so many things throughout this world, like little farmhouses like that there in the center. It's basically just a reworked version of that guy. So I don't think we really need to visit everything. We'll head down this road here shortly, but first let's head towards the city as we can tackle the east side of the world. So out here in front, I have 3 windmills that are all pretty much clones of each other, but they have just slight changes. So there's a little bit of uniqueness between them instead of being purely cookie cutter. And then we have this little mountain stream coming through that they bordered over so that carts can easily get through without, getting stuck in the mud. As we come over here to enter the city of Path, which is over here underneath the canopy of our huge world tree. That thing's like 70,000 azalea leaves in the canopy of that, and it's just absolutely massive. But here we've got a little inn and a stable out in front. Coming inside the city, we have our front guard so that creepers can't get in. And we've got a ton of buildings in here, which I love so very much. A few of them have interiors on the first floors, at least like this main street throughout here does. So inside of this, we've got a little tavern that's looking nice. It's got some seating, and out the back door of it, it's got an extra little bit of seating right over here, which is fun. And it's just a really cool shape. And I tried working in some terracotta for it, just for some extra fun vibes. We got a little sandstone bit sticking out. It's a little loud with the roof being acacia up there, so I might change that roof up one day, but for now I like it. And then right here behind it, we have the red roof of the Adventurers Guild. I have not built the interior of this one yet. Actually, fun part about that though is a lot of people in my community that have access to the supporter server, they have been building interiors for the city for this entire place. So a lot of them, you'll see that they've actually built I'll call them out when I can. Mostly down in the harbor. The rest of these have all been planned out, but I just haven't really gotten into them yet. So a lot of the ones that are done in the upper city I've done myself. But in here we have a stable with every single type of rideable animal in it. I believe out here we even have a pig and a skeleton horse, one of the very few in this world because it doesn't actually rain. I updated to a snapshot once, and then since then it literally has never rained in this world. And it's been about 5,000 days since the last rainstorm, so I don't really know what's going on with that, but currently it does not rain. Over here we have a very cool setup with a blacksmith on the interior for the first floor over here. That's meant to be like two siblings who are both blacksmiths working away at the forge and kind of working together on things. This is going to be a carpenter's house right there, a very small kind of older building in the middle of the city. We've got ourselves a bakery right over here. This one, upper floor is just kind of a random house in there, but the bottom floor is a wagon repair workshop. This is the bottom of the carpenter's house, so they can have a whole workshop in here, which is looking pretty sweet. And then this is just the back of that little stables where we had the skeleton horse. I'm trying to add a lot of alleyways and backways to walk around, so it feels dynamic as you're exploring everything, as this brings us here back to the main street. Right over here, we've got a wagon storage place that appears to also be storing llamas at this point in time. Terry. Where is Terry from? Okay, hi Terry. Anyways, moving on, here we got a little dog. They're working their own little berry stand, selling some produce and things. We've got a tailor shop inside of here. That's pretty simple little interior, but I think it looks nice. We have a grocery store in here that actually houses a pumpkin and melon farm that is underneath it. So we've got everything up here for all the groceries and all that, and you can come back through here, and down that way here is just a little storage room for dual pumpkin and melon farms, and it looks like the minecarts are broken somewhere, or it's just completely full, which is probably more likely. Some final buildings up on this side over here before we check out the town hall. We've got a little bookstore in here where I was putting the Commoner Question of the Day books, and I kind of forgot to be doing these for a little bit. So there's the first finished book in there. Second finished book is still sitting in my ender chest. I haven't thrown that in there. Well, it's not completely finished. There's a nice little reading area and everything in there. Over at this point, we've got a few extra buildings that are going to be very cool that I know some people have done interiors for. I think this one's like a pottery workshop, and this one got turned into, I want to say, tailoring or something like that. And then this got turned in just like a little living quarters and a tower in the corner. And then here we have like an older chapel in the city, which will be pretty sweet to have an interior built out for. But my favorite part of this upper city district is the town hall that we have, built out of an old manor. Still need to clean up that face over there. Had to carve out a lot of room to be able to build this thing. I do a little bit of terraforming, but it is so very cool on the inside. This entire interior is complete and looking beautiful. It's the first time I really spent a lot of energy on building out an interior space, so it's very fun to be able to see all of the different rooms that previously were housing things have been turned into different offices and places for people to meet and conduct business for the city. Even with a bit of a dining room in here that's pretty fun with a blue and an orange theme. And then we've got a kitchen still operating over on this end, which is fun. And then the upper quarters is still kind of very much living space. I was going to originally move out of my starter base and move into here as something more decorative, but then I was like, I kind of like actually having functional storage in my house, so I haven't really done that. But I built this whole big bedroom for myself, and I don't think I've ever slept in here, so that's just kind of part of it. Over on the far side here, we just have another little bedroom there, and then a room dedicated to the number 1000, because this was my 1000th video on YouTube. There, I actually built the interior of this place. So I guess I need a 10,000 room now for 10,000 days, and this is just like a flex. This room over here is just purely for the flex of I had extra stuff, so I put it in there as I didn't know what to do with it. We can head out the back door, however, and this gets us into the gardens, which are very, very beautiful. I think I'm gonna redo that tree. That's an old style of tree I did way back in the day, and my tree building game has changed so much since I built that thing, and it's kind of ugly. But we have very, very cool space out here with a mini sapling of the world tree up there, kind of themed around this guy. I thought was pretty fun. Just some more decorative stuff and trees, and this just cool sandstone arch bit up there. And we have a lot of fountains and ponds and just more greenery and just a really, really fancy garden for people in the city to be able to explore. That back door comes in right down here and puts us back into the main room of the entry hall for the town hall. We can start wandering over this way. These are going to be big mechanic, like one, I think this is a clockmaker, and I can't remember what that one is. Over here we have a schoolhouse, which I have built out. Pretty simple little classrooms in here, not a whole lot to see. as it was a pretty small space, but I wanted to build some sort of a school. This is going to be the Merchant's Guild when it is finished eventually. On the whole interior, I've seen what one of my moderators, Dasgatlos, is working on that one, and it is absolutely gorgeous. We have a tavern over there. This is the post office, the head of the mail room throughout the whole city. This right up here is going to be a barber shop. We've got a potion shop over there, and we've got an herbalist living right in here. So this kind of work together, which is going to be very fun. Inside of this, currently, we have a glowlarkin farm sitting up there, and the interior of that one is going to be super, super cool when it actually gets built out in here. Then this leads us right back up to the bakery. All I'm realizing from exploring this place is I have a lot of interiors to do, and I should probably get started on those somewhat soon. We've got a small stable right over here, and this is just leading to a back road that nothing is really built out on yet, so that's another place that we can expand to. This building right over here, as colorful as it is my color storage room. I just want to make something really, really grand. So over on this side, we have all of our candles. Over here, we have all of our dyes in storage. Then down underneath, we have our concretes and concrete powders. And we have glass from this side, which does have an auto sorting system on it, as this is connected up the way over here into what is the Dwarven district of this city, where we have a very, very colorful building yet again. That is my stained glass factory. This thing has a really cool system built inside of it using autocrafters, as they were just released. So we have all of the different dyes, and you can click the button to turn that one on. It'll start sending the dyes out into this machine, which just houses an autocrafter inside of it. And then you can load glass up there, and you'll see a hopper chain which just automatically sends the glass down into the machine, and then it'll get spit out into this water stream, which actually drops it right down there, as if looking like it's getting loaded into this cart. And then there's another water stream that just goes into the color cathedral. But in order to make sense where all of the dye is coming from, we've got cool greenhouses in here where they're getting different colored plants and things that are producing a lot of the dye that they would need and all that cool stuff. But there's a little back entrance to get inside of the space to load up all of the dyes. And you can see kind of the more decorative way of representing the different dyes are coming in throughout here with ice, amethyst, sponge, pink concrete powder, slimes, honey, and I have extra glass in there. All right, I need to remember that that's there. Taking a quick flight up, as we have a second greenhouse on the top, very similar layout to the bottom one, but I just thought it was really cool to throw a second one in there, very much for that extra just like fantastical feel. Over here, we just kind of have a student learning area, as I'm working towards building a university that's themed around foliage. So inside of here, we have a big old custom tree with some burbs sitting in the tree, just because why not? That's the whole build. That's all that's in there. Behind color storage, I do have the first park in the city with a lot of greenery and just custom trees throughout that I think looks kind of nice just to have a general park. I would love to add more vibes like this throughout the city, just filling in more green spaces with decorative stuff, as I think it's pretty fun. Here are a lot of my doggos. They're just hanging out in here, and that's my birthday cake from last year. Still haven't eaten a slice out of it. We'll head up this way, and then we'll flip back down over there and explore the lower part of the city. Right over in here, we have a fully decorated house on all floors. This is kind of selling different types of cloth. And then they just have a general living space up above. And then inside of here, we have a kind of weird herbalist of sorts, just random goodies, things that you can find inside of here, which is pretty cool. And again, the whole living quarter is filled out up on top. These ones I've done myself, so I'll just leave it all to you to explore in the world download if you wish. Inside of here, this is a brewery, and I wanted a super smelter in this part of the town, as my other one that we looked at earlier, too far away. So we have just a little baby one right here that unloads into that barrel. We've just got some extra storage inside here for the brewery, and then we have the actual brewing area right out in here, which I think is just really cool to be able to have all these different elements. It's not functional at all. It's purely decorative, like 99% of what I do, but I just thought it was kind of a cool thing to be able to build. On the corner beyond that one, we've got a little cafe right in here with this white building and a lot of seating out in front, which is cool. And then also another little seating area on the inside. Pretty simple, but I like it a lot. This is going to be student housing in here. The interior's not quite done. There's a way to get down to the lower road behind that through there. And then this one here is going to be a merchant shop and somebody living up above it. And again, another merchant shop of sorts inside of this building, which I think is really cool with the contrast between our browns and our sandstones. And then right next to it, we have this pink building that works really well with the mangrove and then the tuff at the bottom. And this one is going to be a goldsmith. I think by Ixie Pixie did the interior for it. We still need to put it in here, but I'm super excited for it. And then we've got a little back road here that connects up to that student housing area where we have like a workshop in here. This is going to be a potter's workshop, and then you can see that staircase that takes you all the way up. And then that'll also loop down here, which we'll get to in just a moment for the armory. Right beyond our workshop, though, we have this building right here, which is a giant forge again, but this time it actually has a functional element of being a lava factory on the inside. So we have buckets or cauldrons here collecting lava from lava sources up above, and it's very nice to be able to just jump in there and grab a bucket of lava if I ever do need it. And then I have figured out the interior decorations over here just for a little machiney functional something or another to just give it some more life as we're moving around it. And then we can jump over here because why not? This building is a barracks armory of sorts where I am displaying all of the different armor trims that existed back when I built this building. So I don't have the ones from the trial chamber on display in here, but I do have everything else, including silence back here in the corner. And then flow, apparently I need to rehome that one, with a few of the final ones on the inside right in here that are looking pretty good, and nice little guard room of sorts for people to hang out as they need, and they're kind of off duty, so just giving a whole living space and armory for the guards of the city. This building right here, we've got a little tiny garden in the back there with some potatoes and a small custom tree you can see, and then inside of this is just a Tuhaul flower farm for all of the different Tuhaul flowers that we can just bone meal and get more of, which is very nice. And I did forget to mention it, but just for a quick note, right up here beyond this little road, we've got all of the new foliage farms built out down here that I designed myself, so they're really nice to have. So we have our wildflowers, we've got our firefly bushes, we've got bush, and we've got dried grass farms all in there that I designed myself that work out pretty well. But back going this direction on the tour, we can link up this way where we have the Drip Tavern, which is a little inspired from Gobland of Empire Season 2. I love the tavern that I built there so much that I wanted to bring it from the Gobland build style that I had of like very goblin-y architecture and moved it here into something that fits in the city. And I think it's just a fun addition and also a cool like cameo Easter egg to have. We have our lower city town hall right in here that does not have an interior to it, but underneath it is a mangrove tree farm, so I do need an interior to be able to get down to that thing. We've got a mechanics workshop, which I think is being retrofitted into a newspaper workshop, or a newspaper outlet of sorts, which would be really cool. We got a butcher shop in here and a road for more future expansion to fill in that entire space below the tree up that way. But right over here, a much more important building, we have a pink horse fountain here in the middle that I think is really cool, using a lot of coral sitting on mangrove roots, so they're staying waterlogged and staying alive. And then inside of here, we have the foliage market, another storage room that I have in the world. So you can see all of the different leaves on display over here, where we have oak leaves in there. We've got our mangrove, which I'm very out of, flowering azalea, and so on. And then all of the different crops and flowers and nether goodies, mushrooms and everything all have their own barrel and or chest inside of this place, and it's really nice to be able to have them all in one spot. This building right over here helps with dye production, as it's a cocoa bean farm. So in the upper floor we have this, and then in the bottom floor it is going to be retrofitted into a cookie shop, like a little bakery down in here. And here's that back entrance that I was talking about from the quarry coming up into the city, as right here we have a large copper factory, so they have wagons being stored right out in there. And then here we have a huge copper factory, just kind of showing the process of copper coming into the city as ores gets smashed, turned into raw copper, brought back here into the forges, as it will all be cooked away and all that cool stuff in lore. And then that is sent over here as its final cut copper forms, as it's distributed out throughout the city for whatever it might be needed on. And then to make this actually functional, underneath here, down a few staircases, we have a copper aging facility where I can age 4 stacks of copper blocks, perfectly spaced 4 blocks apart for all of them. So each layer is 64 blocks, 64, 64, 64. And I come down here whenever I need to age some copper, as it goes fairly quickly as long as I'm in the area. Through the rest of the lower city, back with the foliage market up there, this will kind of take us back around to that side of it, or we can take the dirt path, which takes us into this little tiny building here that I love. That's a watermill, and inside of it we have the glowberry farm and a hanging root farm, which I just think both of them are super cool. You can see the water wheel element right over here, just kind of spinning around on this small aqueduct of sorts. Behind these buildings, this is going to be a huge in tavern, all of the above sorts over here, which I think is very, very fun. And you can see the base floor of that one coming in right over here, which I've decorated, but then somebody else is working on the upper floors, as I just think that's kind of a cool place to have. And it does have a functional element. You can see all the mangrove propagules around, as back down in this way, there's a little tiny basement space that has a mangrove propagule farm. where you can also see a bamboo farm down here that we'll look at in just a moment. But we got a mangrove propagule farm if I ever need a lot of those guys. That bamboo farm hooks up here to the Bamboo's bookstore. So we got a little speakeasy bar, bookstore, bamboo theme, blah, 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 because down here we have the output of the bamboo farm that automatically gathers up all of this stuff, but the flying machines are broken as per usual, and then it'll send it over here and gets crafted all the way down into blocks of bamboo or just stored as some regular bamboo itself. There's the back of the Drip Tavern again, which does have a lounge underneath that has a pointed dripstone farm in it. And then this building right here is another barracks of sorts throughout the city, and then a big old tower as we lead into this bridge that takes us into the old part of town, where we've got a lot of buildings here right on the far side of our small little aqueduct. So we've got some backyard gardens and farms and custom trees along here, and just a lot of really cool older houses that are stretching out through this area. Been meaning to hollow that space out and turning it into some sort of a cold room, storage room inside of the ground. We've got a little fish and chips stand right over here where you can get some fish and you can get some chips. And we've got a little boat building workshop right over there just for small little ones like a carpenter. A big old factory in here that stores a basalt farm on the inside. We got a blacksmith right over here. This building here stores a mud farm that really does not work out super well. We've got one of my latest additions to the harbor with a giant diagonal boat right down here featuring the new pale oak that I thought was really cool, and it was just such a pain in the butt to build this thing, but I actually really like it. This is one of my first times actually walking by it in a while, and I think it kind of came in here pretty well. You can see all the mud stacked down in front of this one, so this is just a simple dirt to mud farm. It doesn't work the best, but it is in there. Over here, we've got just an outdoor foraging area, something to fill this space in without putting a whole building in here. You can see another one of my boats, which I'm much more happy with, of this yellow one right over here, which I think is turning out really, really cool. And then we've just got some extra details and things for just keeping the dockyard busy. Right over here, we have a dried kelp farm that outputs all this stuff, and then I can get a bunch of kelp in there, and then I can come back here and pick up dried kelp blocks that have just been auto-crafted down as we need them. And it does automatically refuel all of the kelp blocks that it looks like there's a stuck in the hopper somewhere thing going on. Yeah, very stuck in the hopper. Fix the farm, don't worry, just doing technical fixing stuff on the fly. I'm so good at this game. Much more importantly than the kelp right above it, we have a very, very important storage room in this world, my dirt storage. Well, dirts and grass and podzels and sands and gravels and packed muds. And as you can see, I've got a lot of dirt in here. Well, all those are full, and we cleared out all of those and all of those in the last episode, which is pretty nuts. Upstairs, we do have red sand being stored as well, and it's just kind of something fun to be able to go over there and grab all the blocks I need and be able to explore throughout the harbor as I kind of need to get all those ground coverage materials. Moving up this way, we got another stable as we're leading into a large factory area. I was playing Anno 1800 at the time, and I got super inspired to build a brickworks. So we have forges over here that are taking clay and smelting it down into bricks for us, which are then out here to dry and age, or they're able to convert them into pots and those types of things over there. And we have a big old pile of coal and blackstone and whatnot here just to be able to show that we have materials ready to be thrown in the kilns to help keep the fires going. We'll head into the city in just a moment, but quickly, a little view up the valley to the top of the mountain where we have this beautiful castle that is definitely meant to be viewed from this far away and not too much that closer. You can see a lot of fun shading work went into this one that from far away really brings it home. And I had so much fun working on that thing, just something to sit on top of this valley, this dip between the mountains, and be a way that we can kind of have that pass sealed off a little bit better. It was just a really cool project to build. That's pretty much everything on this side of the town, and don't worry, there's a whole harbor. We're not out of the city quite yet. There's so much going on here. So here we have the back gate looking super cool. We've got the barracks right over there, and we've got the inn and all that, and we can head out here into the harbor where we've got a little kind of shrine here to toss a coin in as you head on into the city for good luck and all that stuff. And then every single one of these buildings now has a fully filled out and completed interior to it. So this one was by Simple Architect for the Simple Inn. So we've got this very cool downstairs inn area. And then up above, we have a lot of rooms and everything throughout here, which is looking super fun with all the different details on the floors and everything. I will not be able to scope out every single tiny detail in this place, so I'm gonna leave that up to a lot of y'all. But I'll poke my head in as we have here, we have the harbor master with Blocky's boat business. So we've got a very cool first floor in here that is looking absolutely awesome with the living quarters up above it. Right next to that, we have the Piranha Head, where they created a fish shop, like a bit of a fishmonger with all these giant fish hanging down that I just think is so fun. And then I came in and added a few salmon into here, and then they got a little living quarter up above too. Continuing down Harborside, I do have another one of my custom boats right over here. This is one of the first custom boats I built in this world, so it's not quite up to snuff with those two over there, but it's still pretty good. I think it worked out well. And we've got these big old cranes to be able to bring all the goods up from the lower dock to the upper one. Right over here next to where we had the fish shop, we have a grocery store, which is looking really, really good and just a lot of cool things. And who's this by? Rainy days. So they got a little grocery store in here, and yes, that's a pineapple. And then there's just more goods and storage and living quarters and things as you move throughout. Then here we have a Lud's Caribbean Grill, where there's just a cool restaurant on the first floor down here. And then we have a full-on bar set up here with a kitchen around the corner, which is looking sweet. Here we have a storage room that's absolutely awesome. This one is also by Simple Architect with simple storage solutions, and I just love how crammed and filled in and just so detailed this space is in here. It's just really fun. And then we can jump out over on this side. We have Seahorse's Rest by That Frenchman. And so we've got a little stables in here that I had built out, and then they came in and decorated out this little house in here, which is looking absolutely awesome, which is a little living quarters, and it's super fun. Across the street from that, we have another storage room, which is Warehouse 45 by Super Taco with Super's Coopery down behind it, where they're making barrels. And inside here you can see another completely different way of doing a storage room that also feels absolutely awesome and cramped and just so full of stuff. Super scoopery around the back. We got the little barrel making space in here, which is super fun. I've got one of those cold storage rooms I was talking about that I built out in here, where we just have goods being able to be stored in the earth so they're able to stay cooler and out of the sun, as we have this big old custom rock face up here that's kind of bringing it all over. And then over on this side, we got a little back of a blacksmith here that was built by Stam, who created a really cool little blacksmith in there with the smoldering Stam. Right over here, we have the Fisherman's Guild Hall, which was built by yours truly, of just a really simple, old-timey, old-fashioned guild that they got in here. They got a pet fish that they all take care of, and it's just kind of a cool little sitting area with a lot of storage up above. Right over here by one of my moderators, this Thomas, we have Duconian Goods, and if you get that reference, you are one of the OGs, where we just have a really cool storefront and shop in here. Then if you take this little tiny route, you can get to the upper floor, which is also super decorated out, and there's a little living quarters right back on that side. Right after that, we do have a bakery, this is the employee entrance, but that's okay. We'll just go inside of here. I thought my sign got wiped. Nope, it's right down here. Mocha Flipping Bakes. So Mocha Flips built a very cool bakery in here that's a little bit more of a modern vibe, but I also feel like it fits in enough for the Minecrafty interior space, so I think it's really cool. And there's a big old living space up above that was such a pain in the butt to get all these blocks in here, but it turned out very fun. Just send myself out the window to get back down to the street. We're stopping by here. We have a gravel barge coming in from the Dwarves, which is a very cool kind of steampunky gravel barge design, as I don't want everything to be truly like authentic medieval in this world. I'm very much going for the fantasy vibe, so some factions or races or civilizations that we have throughout might have a little bit more technology than others, and I do try and mesh that across the board a little bit as we go. In here, this is a single building that's kind of attached with two different interiors. So we have Rainy Warped Wart Apothecary, where they have a little apothecary down here, which is very cool, and then they have their living quarters right up that staircase up the top. And then over here we have Archibald's Amethyst Emporium, where inside we have a lot of amethysts. We have Addie the cat, and there's a very spooky downstairs area with a lot of weird things going on, and yeah, it's kind of spookies down there. And then there's a little living space up here where Archie, I'm gonna borrow your bed for a moment as we can move all the way to the top and just take a nap. Moving on to newer buildings that do not, nope, Blocky also built this one, sorry, forgot about it. We have a little tiny house. I kind of was inspired by Up and how they just have the tiny little house in the middle of all the skyscrapers. So I want to throw in this really old crumbled cobblestone build right in here that I just thought fit in super well, and Blocky did a good job decorating it. And all of these over here are newer ones that I built, so they are not up for interiors quite yet, which means they'll be up very soon on the server for people to decorate. And just a lot more things to finish and fill out the harbor This one is meant to be a bit more of like a shrine of sorts. I don't really know. There's not really a whole lot of religious stuff in this world. I tend to avoid it. Then we got a little visitor center right over here. We've got another guard barracks to help out with customs and everything as you come across the bridge. And we have a little background area over there that needs a little bit more decoration. And we've got some more buildings in here and space for more expansion out of the harbor as we're moving. Over the bridge, we can head into a very, very cool newer region of this world that I love so very much. This used to be a mountain. Yes, this was a mountain at one point in time. As you can see, it is no longer a mountain. In fact, it is a plains biome where I've been building up this really cool town. A lot of the buildings are finished up now. We've got this whole little area settled out here for a market with all these different animals and stalls and all the goodies, a little restaurant, outdoor seating, and it's just super, super fun to see all the vibes in here. We can look through like multiple layers of streets in here. There's a lot more stuff that needs to be added in as far as interiors go, but all of the structures are completed. We've got a donkey way station as the Donkey Express, I believe it's called. They are the delivery service around the world. So I have donkey way stations set up at almost every single one of my builds with 2 donkeys and their little banner and then their little living place. So if you need to get goods around, you can grab one of the donkeys, load them up, and they will send you off. Got a lot of really cool custom trees out here. We've got a storage room where I did build out the first floor for it. That is very fun, just kind of farm goods and things that it would be for the people in this area. Really try and theme everything around who's actually out here. We got a few grain silos for once all of the wheat gets harvested up and everything. Another little house right out here. And then on the back side of town, we've got a meeting area so they could have somebody standing up here and the whole town could be sitting on the different stone bleachers over there. They could do plays, they could do community meetings, all that good stuff. You know, just a good space for the community to gather instead of just spamming in more buildings. And then behind that, we have the community gardens, which are super fun. So we've got some people with little workstations out here. We got people with their backyards connected to it. And then we just have a lot of really lush overgrowth in the gardens between roses. We've got little carrot patches. We've got potatoes. We got pitcher pods. We got sweet berries. We got all the cool things that you can need are just kind of thrown in here around. And pretty much every single crop that existed in Minecraft when I was building this now has a place in here, which is really fun. We've got a little back road that comes outside the backside of town, where there's another little area over there I need to decorate out. And then we've got a few more decorated spaces into here. And I did miss this. We have a dry dock area to pull boats out of the water, these little tiny boats that I have, and they can be working on fixing it up and getting it ready to go back into the river to do some local fishing. As we can move down this way past another Cooper right over here that is living right along our fishing dock. So to symbolize fish being hung up, we got these big old things, and I've come back through recently and added in a ton of our firefly bushes just because I love that brown color you get off of it. It's very, very cool. And then we've got all these tiny fishing boats right out over here looking back at the harbor, where I do want to throw one more big boat right in there. I just need to find a good idea for it. And we have a few little tiny fishing houses and things that are just kind of slightly disconnected from the town on the other side of the community gardens, but it's very, very full. This entire region more or less is completely hand detailed, with everything being exactly where I want it, even down to all of this lush detailing along the edge. All of the grass and ferns and everything has been placed exactly where I want it. Even this little retaining wall right in here where we've got just some bee nests behind it so that we can get some extra homegrown honey and all that cool stuff behind these big old custom trees that took so many leaves to be able to build them. Even a small orchard right here, which symbolizing the fruit. We just have flower pots with oak saplings in them, as I thought it kind of made sense to that. And then over this way, our first milling point, we have a water wheel on the main river network. That is a custom river we'll be checking out shortly that goes all the way out to the ocean. But down in here, instead of a innards of a water mill, right now I just have a pale hanging moss farm that is super helpful and almost out of bone meal, unfortunately. So we're just going to leave that in there. Back over to the big old tree as we leave town, we can head right across the way this way to another side street where we've got a big old carrot field in here. And one of my favorite points is this giant tree, which was so very fun. I think it's like 4,000 or 5,000 leaves in this thing. It was a lot. It's a lot of leaves crammed into that canopy. And I love how it just looks super ancient and old and filling up the space. And even more ancient and probably even more old, we have this very, very old ruined temple of sorts that's just so fun to be able to see it over here, and some sort of a shrine here as well that you can again throw a coin into. and it just is here looking out towards the city and everything. And this stuff might have even been here before the city was built. Who really knows? But the community is very much built around it as close as they could, with farmland coming right to the edge. We've got a little river that comes right here behind it that is more filled up space that I still need to come through and add all of our grass and everything over here, but it is looking pretty solid. So this is the only unfinished corner of this region. But as we continue down the road, right over here, we've got another little farmhouse hidden in all of the fields. This one's a little bit more unique and different, as there's a little pig pen out in front. We've got horsies right over there, and it's the first build that I ever did with pale oak, and I thought it turned out really, really cool. And then you can see this big old mountain spring of sorts that previously it was mountain. Well, we're plains biome right here. But if we head over this way, you can tell I wasn't lying, as you can see snowy slopes biome. See? Mountain. Then that is just a little back footpath that connects onto the main road that we can get back to first right over here. And we can continue wandering out this way, which honestly is just a lot of farmland. So to give you a good glimpse and a look at it from right up here, you can get a really, really good idea of how this is all coming together. And it's super, super fun. And there's so many details hidden in throughout it. I just tried to build these big old massive fields throughout. What are you doing here? How did you? No, this is supposed to be for the chicken farm, not a zombie farm. Ew. I'm so sorry, chickens. Are you okay? Okay, good. Do we get a friend? No friend. We've got a little sheep pasture right over here just for some sheepies to be able to hang out in. And then this building is one of the also functional ones in the region of inside in the basement. It has a place to grow ferns, which is very, very helpful. You can have 1 tall ferns like this, and you can bone meal them, and they all become 2 tall ferns. You harvest that, and you get 2 ferns for each. So we can just duplicate ferns as we need down there, which is very helpful. Then we got another little farmhouse here that is just going down to a boat that this boat is able to slip around that side and get out to the main river network. Right beyond this little custom forest section and all that, and eventually over at this end where we have another orchard using resin to be fruit, almost like a kumquat or something like that, or I don't know, maybe an orange or some citrusy thing. But I want to build a little ferry system right here that'll connect to the Dwarven area we'll get to in the future as we keep exploring. Moving on up this direction though, we've got 2 Halloween zombies hanging out right here, so they just kind of live under this tree for now. That is where that farmhouse back road came out to that I was talking about a minute or 2 ago. We got more bees right over here on this far side. We've got a malt house of sorts. I was playing a lot of Manor Lords and got inspired by it, so I decided to do a malt house right over here. This one is just another little farmhouse. We've got a grain silo, and then we have a gatherer's hut up here that doesn't have a full interior to it yet, as kind of the starts, but just a lot of things growing out in the middle. And then just kind of the basics of it over here, just so I could have some smoke going up the chimney for the most part. And then this is a unique field amongst everything else of a fallow field, a field that has been farmed on a lot, and it needs to give it some time for nutrients to restore into the field, because you can't just keep growing crops on a thing. So you can either go with crop rotation and change out the crop that's in here, or you can just leave it dormant for a while. So here we have a dormant field that maybe used to be growing some wheat in it. As we move on our way out of this region, we've got one more little stop over here where we've got a few goats, which are looking cool. We've got another garden area right in here, which is a lot of more decoration to it. I believe this is supposed to be a weaver's hut or somebody who like gets a lot of dyes and does all of that. We've got another field over there. We've got some puppos hanging out in a little dog kennel of sorts there. And we've got more fruit trees as we come down into another little tiny outlet of the village with another watermill right over here. Some clothesline hanging out, more fruit trees around, and a few more buildings over here just to add some more extra decorations, and another dock place that they can have right down there. And then the last structure that we have, which is a really, really good viewing point for this entire region, we have this small shrine that I built out up here on the edge for no real reason other than to have another shrine like that ancient church thingy over there. But you can see this is a very, very cool view of this lake. This entire thing used to be land up pretty, kind of like about that high probably, tore it all down and built a lake out of it. And it's looking absolutely awesome. So we have all these custom cliffs in here. You can see some holes in them as there are plans to build an entire university building up on top of that. It's like some grand palace over the city, which would be cool. That's even going to extend down here with a lot of buildings along that space when we get around to it. And then we have a very Elden Ring inspired bridge up there with this creek coming down all the way down, filling into the lake, as this place could just collect a ton of water. And then we have all of our custom trees throughout, which are looking super, super cool. Very much an ongoing project, as are many inside of this world, but it is just so very fun to be able to see all of this coming together from just random ideas that turned into all of this. Like, this whole place used to be flat down, carved it all down there, started with the cliff, and then that cliff just extended further and further and further to make it more natural, coming all the way back down into here. Going with the idea now that it's almost like a crater for some meteor that struck and just caused this giant hole to appear, which is why kind of everything's like curved up and away from all of it. But now we can go through a little bit of a forested section as we transition out of our farmland region. Still need to detail that side, and eventually it'll look a little bit more like this. As we exit out of here, there's an old ancient wall of sorts that very much is crumbling, mossy cobble, pale stone, and tuff, and all of those cool bits in here. And then using that to be able to put some grass on top of our pale moss and everything, I think just looked really cool. So I went for that and picked the same original palette when building it as we have with the city wall that you definitely can kind of see poking through out of there just to the gatehouse, to that little tiny peek through the trees. I wanted to make it look like they maybe took some of these rocks to rebuild the big wall in the city itself, which I thought would be very cool. And we've got a little bit of a viewpoint right out over here to look at the other lake that's coming in on this side of the farming region. Now that we're like an hour into the tour, let's continue, as that was only one of the regions of the world. We've got a lot of them. Farther down the road here, we have the Hair of the Dog Brewery. I built this when the new puppos were added to the game, and there's every single new dog variant in the Minecraft world here at the brewery, all with nicknames after my two dogs IRL. So we've got quite a few of them around here, all hanging out, like Miss Mama up there, and my personal favorite. You more inside with Girly Whirly and a little tasting room for the brewery. We just walked past a big old sunflower field and a small farmhouse right over there. And what I'm trying to say are like hops of sorts right over here. I think are pretty cool. And then just an outdoor brewing set with our last two doggos hanging out right over that way. We will venture down that road soon, but first we're gonna go this way towards the south as we have a custom tree here and a little river, which is so very cute. Some more fields and things in this whole area. Is still a work in progress, but it's looking pretty good as we can head on out over here with this massive river project that I spent over 500 days in game digging out this entire thing. From right over there all the way through here. This was going through mountain ranges all the way out to the ocean. We're gonna do a quick fly through for it. Still a work in progress as I need to remove this mountain directly in front of me here and also terraform back and create some really steep cliffs for this mountain over to the right. As we are moving all the way down here, there is a small fishing village on the far side of the castle with the city right over that edge of the mountain. We've got a fishing village with a ton of villagers that are running around here living their happy days with iron golems who are keeping them very well protected. And then we've got just a small little fishing dock down here and just a more finished up custom area as I wanted to finish off this ledge of the whole thing. These houses are purely decorative just to fill out the world with a little bit more life as we move around, having another civilization in it or another part of our civilization. I consider this all to be a bit more of the nation of that Path is the capital city of. And so you can see this goes all the way over here with a road connecting back into everything following down that way and a river going there. We will head that way after, as I don't want to get too far away from the east side of the world as we've got a few things to touch on here first. The plan is to eventually tear down all of these hills over on this side and extend the custom landscape out even further, as I just really love terraforming. But for now, I'm holding back off that one, as we have this really cool bridge right over here that I thought was super fun to work into as we are going into what I'm calling the Dwarven area of Tuhaul. Every single thing that I have inside of this world, for the most part, are named after Minecraft blocks. So if you think tough, which you'll see in just a moment, as this bridge kind of clues into a little bit of the building material around here. Path is based off of the path block of all the roads lead back to path, and we've got a few others, named and unnamed civilizations around this world. A little further down the road, it curves into this valley where we've got a few cool things. First up, another donkey way station, and then the gate leading into the Dwarven city of Tuhaul, which is an overworld Dwarven city kind of inspired by Dornogal from World of Warcraft, which is very fun. Still in the beginning, early stages of the project, but it's been a really fun one to work on with that structure and this structure, as both of them are very functional. This one here, we can jump in the minecart, click the button, and it can take us all the way down to a resin farm. I've reimagined resin in this world from being something that you harvest off of the trees into an ore. So you can see little bits of resin around here as if it's like a coal ore block, but instead being resin ores that are just in the edges of the walls, which I thought was very cool, taking us all the way down here underground in a completely spawn-proofed area where I have an actual resin farm. So we've got a fully functional resin farm up here. Can't remember exactly who designed this one, but it is pretty efficient, and I really need to just name tag all of the creaking and keep them there so that it'll get even better, as they won't despawn with name tags now. But this was a cool way to take that new material that we have in the game and just find a different way of doing it outside of, hey, I just built a farm, cool, we're done, let's move on. So we've got a giant mine being carved out here with a little gap going all the way up for skylight access. I just thought was fun. Then that big old building over there. This guy is the throne room capital building of this civilization, and it is very grand and very tall, and actually has a purpose on the inside of it of being a rocket factory just for fun. So we've got a big old throne room in here. You can see these two pipes. One connects up to a sugarcane farm, the other connects up to a gunpowder farm, and then down in the basement, which still needs to be expanded upon, that comes down here and is very, very, as you can see, super efficient and absolutely so fantastic. Oh yeah. Oh, it's broken. Why are all my redstone farms broken? I don't know. I don't get it. Why are we broken? It just didn't have enough gunpowder in it. All right. Yep. Yeah, nope. Totally fine. Totally fine. Well, hey, there's some free rockets for me to take. Yeah. Super efficient farm. Super great. Absolutely awesome farm. So awesome. Super great. Look at this cool build though. It's got a big old dwarven face kind of carved into it. Big old hammer with a netherite block in the middle. And I just had a lot of fun with the texturing on this build for just a huge, grand, overworld, dwarven themed building. I just thought was really fun. The plan is to not only expand the city out there, but also to build a bit of a dwarven harbor right on this section here as a future project that I hope to be doing. And it'll be something when I get inspired, we'll be back over there. I like to go tackle that every few months. I'm like, ooh, you know what? I want to do a dwarven build right now. But here back at the Dog Brewery, we can head off this way to where we got a cool little farmhouse. It's just kind of hanging out here. We got a torchflower field. We got some piggies. We got a little wheat field. We got a little mini cattle ranch right up there. And then, of course, another custom tree. And then we can fly along here to where we just have a bridge to kind of get across this point, as it was a natural divot and I didn't want to fill it in as it goes inside this big cave that almost goes all the way through the mountain. So I tried something really crazy with the texturing in here, and I think it's a good one to look at from a distance, I think. But we can follow along with there as this road goes all the way out to a random igloo that is vanilla, and I need to figure out something else to do with that space just to keep it there as a memento. And we continue along the road out to the Cartographer village. I created this when the Tricky Trials update came around with another donkey way station right down here. We have a small dock right over here just for the local fishermen in a very small harbor that's kind of defending them from the big ocean waves. You see all those big waves moving out there? Yeah, so many ocean waves. So they got their two little grimy crabbing fishing boats right over there. And we can move our way up to where they have a bit of a storage room in this building with a very simple base floor to it. A second floor that comes up here that's very much my functional space with a nether portal, ender chest, crafting tables, and a bed if I ever need it while I'm working out here. And I did actually create this place with a bit of a purpose outside the cartographers who are up there. We also have this structure in here that is for making banners. So we got a loom, we got all of the banner patterns, we've got the extra ones, we got dyes, we've got wool, and more sheep out in the back if I ever need to make some more. Just for a reason to come out here, just to, again, have all of the places in my world. I try to keep them relevant in some regard as a reason why I should go back to them instead of, hey, you know what, I want to go look at that thing. I always try and keep an actual functional reason why I should go to builds. This one right here is meant to be a smith, but it's more just turned into a general villager housing as they all love this building. This one over here was I've taken all of the base villager structures and converted them. So this was for the cleric. I ended up retrofitting it into being more of an herbalist type vibe out here instead of being your traditional Minecraft cleric with their little chapel building. Up here, this was another house that got turned into a leather worker's home where, look at, he's so happy. He's so, oh, sorry, I'm interrupting. Look how he's just jumping with joy over there. But over here, we have the cartographers who I don't know if any are still in here. Yep, there's one. He's always in this boat. But some of them have trial chamber explorer maps, which was the whole purpose for this. I wanted to build them a really cool house. so that we could get Trial Explorer maps out of one of these guys. Yeah, there we go, the Trial Explorer map. So I bought a few of those and was able to go explore around, and yeah, okay, so we got 2 more that we could get ready to go, and they just got a fun little home in here. The cliff out here was very, very awkward vanilla Minecraft terrain. I decided to retrofit it into something a lot more colorful. So let's go land on top of this boat down here. You can just see right here as we definitely finished around the corner over there. That's not the edge at all. Don't look at that dirt down there. But I just thought there was a really cool custom cliff face that we could do here of a terraforming idea that I would like to try again in the future, of having these really dark deep slate and basalt cliffs. I thought were super fun with our highlights in there, and then making it look like there's a little bird nest around with some diorite below it, and just having all of this really cool definition in here. I thought it was a really, really fun way and just more interesting way of doing something than just having regular stone cliffs throughout. So I'd love to continue expanding that. But this is currently the farthest east build that I have in this world. As you can see here using Zeros world map, the Dwarven area is directly south of us. We're right up here, and everything else that we've explored so far is kind of through this whole area. Next on our journey, we are in yet another mountain, no longer snowy region that I tore this down a good amount, covered it all with moss so we could get rid of the biome tinted grass color, and then just bone mealed it so we get a lot of darker grass up here. But as my wings are about to break, we should probably be walking for a few, as we've got another road coming throughout here as we are on the north end of the lake in the city. And over here we have a newer expansion into the world with the Woolly Cow Ranch. I absolutely love the woolly cows that were added in the latest Minecraft update, so I wanted to give them a home. Using the new bushes for a field over here, they got another wheat field. And out here we have 50 or 60 woolly cows that I brought home from far, far north in new chunks to be able to get these guys. And they are absolutely awesome. Look how adorable they are. Oh, I love them so much. They got a little pond. We got some custom trees, a lot of firefly bushes. And then they've got the little ranch house over here for this little doggo to live in, who's actually one of the new dogs with the new sounds. I completely forgot that was coming in the game. But I really love how this ranch house came together with a small garden around the back edge over there, and some custom mountains we'll be at in just a moment. Following the road up here, you get all the way around to that upper level to look over everything that we've kind of toured through so far. And for a quick closer glimpse at it, here is that bridge that I've built to be able to bring into the university, and also for the water to come down, where you have it splitting between one of the legs of it. And I just think it's so cool having the split water, then it comes back down here into the one. But you can see a lot more of that texturing, and even using some glass in there to get those darker shades, and clay for the big highlights, so it really, really pops from far away. And it was just really fun to throw that together. Up top is pretty simple. As you're moving across, I wanted a lot of bushes as we're moving into what will be the Foliage University, standing tall right up here. But for now, we're just gonna skirt our way around the top across this meadow biome, as I've been doing a little bit of building. Last episode, I decided to expand upon my custom landscape. As you can see it all loading in over here. Gave it a quick second, and yes, everything that you're seeing here is a hand-placed block with over 320,000 blocks placed on this landscape so far. So yes, underneath this is all completely hollow. Before I scare myself and you all too much, we will trade that out. No. Okay, well, yep, you can see that's really hollow in here. Let's get the heck out of here. Just seal that one back in. Over on this eastern edge, I have the first start of the mountains that are really going to start stacking up. As you can see, snow behind that. Snow biomes are everywhere over there. And inside of my world, I want to have it make logical sense for why there's snow. So we're putting it at higher elevations. So you can see all the snow melt coming down here through a little river with a brand new log cabin of sorts that we built up here that I just think is a cool way. And instead of having campfire smoke coming out, we've got some custom glass smoke coming out the top of it, and it's a cute little build over here. Just trying to set the scale for the buildings that will exist in the landscape here, so that I can see it compared against all of the cliffs that I'm working on for the mountains. It doesn't currently go behind where this waterfall comes up, so we've got a lot of room to expand and keep on growing. And then you can see a big bluff plateau of sorts here in the middle. We've got a lake right over there, and another set of mountain peaks coming up with a little bit of a frozen river of sorts coming down between those. So we currently have 3 rivers all working their way down into this big mid one that leads out to the ocean over there. And that pillar right there goes up to build limit, all the way up at 512 blocks. Yes, I know Minecraft build height is actually like 300 something. Minecraft build height is actually where those little extensions are. I recently added a data pack for hitting 10,000 days that gives me from there all the way up to there. I've just always really wanted to raise the world height in Minecraft, and you can do it fairly safely through data packs now. So I decided to make one myself and just throw it in there. And I think it's gonna be really, really fun to work with, making this like a giant mountain range going all the way back. And also it's making me really excited for the happy gas, because we can definitely do some cool stuff with happy gas, and having a really, really tall build height is going to open up a lot of doors. This area that we're on right here is another new addition to the custom landscape, where I had this other custom mountain that I did before, and previously it just kind of went flat into here, which was a forest. And I do want to bring that foresty vibe back into the space, but for now I clear cut the entire forest and just brought this custom landscape in here, so it made a little bit more sense transitioning out of that guy into this space and then into the river, and just kind of finished it off. Oh, can't sleep here, monsters underneath the terrain. The sense of absolute absurdity we get from all the way back here, seeing those mountains just completely in the fog, is so cool. Every time I look at them, I get a smile on my face, and I really, really want to keep expanding that project. As you can see, there's another mountain range right over here. There's also a castle right in front of us, but let's land on top of this tree, as it's a good way to view everything from a little farmstead that's been overrun by the pillagers, which we will go see a little bit more on in just a moment. But here, the first custom mountain that I built in this world is very, very abstract and super crazy, really, really heavily textured and just kind of aged, and a lot of shape to it. And I had a lot of fun with it. It was really, really fun to build. And it all built off of that guy right over there, which is the output from my gas farm, which is a way that I get most of my gunpowder in this world still. And I needed a way to hide the gas farm, as it was just kind of floating up here from the output of the nether side. So I figured we would do this, almost inspired by a Halo or something, with just this big beam of light reaching up into the top, which I thought was a really fun way of doing all of it. So the collection area is just right down in here, nothing super fancy or crazy. But this orange pipe that you can see going over to there actually has a creeper farm. After I built this structure and the mountain right next to it, this little blob of earth right there, I felt that I could add more to it and really expand it out, and wanted to keep it within that gunpowder theme. So inside of the middle of this big old thing, I have a creeper farm standing right about in there. And sitting on top of the mountain is actually the perfect AFK level. So if I ever want to just chill and look at everything over in here, I just go sit up there and I get some passive gunpowder while I'm looking and thinking and just kind of mulling over ideas in this world. This place is another ancient part of the world, minus it being a Stonehenge type build itself. This is actually where my first ever raid farm was, and that was the villager who was making the whole thing happen. It was how I got the first totem and the second totem, which is actually the one that I'm holding right now, as we popped to one totem in this world. And I built this early on in the world just so I could have that extra sense of security and not be super anxious anytime I booted up the world. The reason why it was located here has to do with this now castle. That used to be just a plain old pillager outpost. And I wanted to retrofit the pillager outpost into something much cooler, so I tore it all down and built up a whole castle for the pillagers to exist in. It was an absolute pain to build up a castle while you're constantly getting shot by pillagers, and then also building all these custom little trees around the back of it. You will see them constantly spawning around here as we're doing things. This happened again. Why does the grass keep spreading through here? There's just every single time there's one little thing of grass that I miss, and it keeps coming back. I'll fix it one day. I'll fix it one day. But for now, we have this lovely little fella in there. I can't remember his name. Excuse me, I'm trying to look at this guy's name. What's your name again? Precious. Right. Hi, Precious. You're looking great today. But on the inside, we just have a small little courtyard. So if I ever need bad omen or anything like that, and I don't have potions, I can just come in here and pillagers will naturally spawn. It's just a much more fun space to fight pillagers in, and a cool place to give them a little bit more lore and attachment into this world if they took over the castle. But we're gonna run away before I get any arrows stuck in me. As to kind of divide this from the rest of the region, to have it make a bit more sense about how pillagers were able to move in and take a castle, I built up a whole custom oak forest here as a bit of a barrier between the regions, so you can't really see from one side to the other all that well. maybe just a little bit over the top of the canopy. So this used to be a normal Minecraft oak forest, which, you know, is like 5 to 6 blocks tall for most of the trees. So I really spruced that up and took them way, way higher, as you can kind of explore through this whole thing. And I just think it's a really, really cool vibe. All completely textured and flowers in where the sun's able to come through. We got flowers growing and just all the way textured with dirt and everything, and instead of grass all over. I need to come back in actually and add some bushes in here now that we have those in the game, but I really, really like how it turned out. This does lead us back over here to the world tree. We've completely looped around the northern edge and we're back over here right next to the windmills. And we can head on down into the heart of this region with our custom forest right over there that we were just walking along the edge of, to this space, which was a town that I built up back on episode 10 in this series. So it's been quite some time since then, as this was a project well before even 1,000 days in the world. Very much an older build style. I've grown a lot as a builder since I created this place, but it's definitely something that I really, really love. It was the first time I tried like an actual massive project in a single episode for like a whole terraforming building and everything, and it was so well received that it just really opened the doors to what I was able to do in this series. So we got a little market, we got a painter's workshop right over here. This place is purely decorative. There's nothing actually functional about it. It's just a lot of cool little houses right along the main river that we have over here. We've got a storeroom that I actually used when I was building up the space, and now I just kind of come down here whenever I'm doing some fishing. We have a lot of older boats in here that are built by some of the members of the community. Like that one was by Blocky, one of my moderators. This one is by this Thomas, another one of my moderators. And I'm blanking on who built these three. It's been quite a while since then. We also have every single type of cat in Minecraft sitting right over here, just in case I ever need to breed one and move it around the world to throw it sitting in some house or guarding an entrance to something. I have every single one to choose from. Out this way is a newer addition, as I wanted to finish off this end of the little bit of an island that I put this town on, and I just never really got around to it. So I came out here more recently and expanded this, trying to copy that same build style. Built a big old boat here, shipping in a fossil from the lands of New Papyrus, which we're headed over in that direction now to the far west. And they've got a little bit like another storage room and like a harbor master's tower, and just a few more homes right back here along another little street with like an outdoor eating area where people go sit down, have a snack while they're working or coming back from work and all that stuff, and a little fishmonger stall right over in here where they've got a friend as a little kitty to help them out with all of the fish cleaning and everything that they need to be doing. That is going to lead us out to the south end of town, as we're going to be walking a little bit through the farmland and actually going directly past world spawn again, right along the other edge. We'll head out that way across the river momentarily, but first right up over, don't break anything. No, I have to fix it. To the other side of world spawn now, where we have kind of something that looks a little bit like McDonald's, but it's actually supposed to look like Sniffers, and where I have a huge Sniffer farm right out here that appears to be broken now, but underneath this land is a whole minecart track that's supposed to be running around the entire space. It really doesn't need to be running right now because I have so much storage because it works insanely well. But as you can see in here, we have quite a few pitcher pods and torch flower seeds that I can use if I ever need to plant anywhere. Oh, I'll let you out again, buddy. There you go. Have a fun trip. He's always stuck in there. He's just such a good little dude. But yes, that is the whole reason why I expanded here and around world spawn, actually built up these extra structures, just to make it look like people could work in the fields or help out with the ranch right over there. But we can head our way past right where I spawned and we started our tour today, headed south. We're right after that custom tree there. We've got mushrooms. So we got brown mushrooms here, and then we have red mushrooms right up here, and we have a mushroom mill, mushroom lumber mill of sorts, where we've got a red mushroom farm and a brown mushroom farm hooked up with dispensers and podzol, so I can flip a lever and it will just automatically grow them if I have anything placed down, because they're all filled with bone meal in here. So it's just place all the mushrooms, flip the lever, and you got a bunch of trees, which is fantastic. So super colorful and just kind of one-off, blah-de-blah-de-blah all over the place. I was really experimenting with color in my builds. Probably honestly throwing in a little too much into what I was building at the time. Like looking back on it, this kind of stands out a little bit. But I do think it was kind of a fun way to grow and experiment as a builder. So you get a lot of things like this with the blue and the green down into like the darker tones and all that as you transition out. But it was a cool way to do it. And this whole thing is actually functional. of if I throw anything here into the river, I made sure it will all flow all the way down to the bottom to where there's some hoppers here, and then it goes into a storage basement inside the lumber mill itself. To go along with all of our mushrooms, we have a little pig pen right over here, so that we have our truffle hunters themselves ready to go if we ever need to venture out into the woods and find mushrooms. Because, I don't know, lore-wise, pigs, mushrooms, made sense. Up here, we get it to a little crossroads where we'll head that way momentarily, but first, going to the right, as we've got a castle to check out. When mud brick was added to the game, I was so incredibly inspired to build a castle, as we finally had some cool brown building blocks in the game, and I created this. The mud brick castle sitting out over here guarding the entrance to all these waterways to the town and everything. So we've got a little bit of like a rope gate to stop boats from being able to come in, and just such a cool little, honestly, mini castle. It just looks really, really good with all these big flagpoles up here, a little bit of like a fishtail flag going on, and a lot of detail crammed into this thing. Purely just something cool to look at in the distance as we move around the world. Love it so very much. Absolutely a fabulous build. And the inside there is completely nothing outside of a little courtyard. Not even floors. No, not even floors. Just purely the outside frame of the building, and that I am happy with. It's a really fun build to make, but yeah, there's no purpose to it whatsoever besides just looking cool. And that's like 90% of my Minecraft world, and I love that. One little addition to check on right over here, as I'm a big fan of the Warcraft universe. And they have Murlocs. Murlocs are one of my favorite little dudes in the game. The little guys, you know, those are super great. So I built a Murloc camp here, and we don't really have Murlocs in Minecraft. So for our mutant fish monsters, instead, we have frogs. I've hooked frogs up throughout. There's actually two. You might have seen another one on the river earlier, the big river on the far side of that mountain range. There's another camp over there. So I just like dotting these around the world just for something fun to do. But in order to have it make sense why we have that big old castle there, I had to quarry out this entire stretch of the river here to actually reach the ocean, so it makes sense for boats to be able to come back in. I still want to come back through and detail that and actually turn it into a face of a quarry itself. But out here we have a bit more of a coastal area with some tide flats, which I think are really cool, with a lot of dead coral, mossy cobble, and the works, and these little pools all over the place. We've got a bit of a shipwreck right over here, just for some extra details, showing, hey, don't cut the corner too close, actually like go around the outside of it. They have a shipwreck. And somebody was like, you know what, we should throw a little light right here so that boats, you know, don't cut the corner here. They actually go around the light. This has been another fun project I would like to continue working on, as I did build up all these cliffs here, and it's a complete custom landscape for the village sitting there. As you can see, it currently ends here, but I would love to wrap this going all the way down there to actually link back into where we have the big river and those beacon beams out there. But yeah, it's a wee bit hollow underneath. This is a village, though. I brought a bunch of villagers out here, so they are running around. They got their little boats up here in a dry dock station, and then they have some system, I don't really know, magic, to get the boat down there to get it in a safe harbor with all the big ocean waves, you know, coming in and crashing here. So you can get their boat ready, and then they can go out and do all their fishing and come back in and more easily do all that type of stuff. I really wanted to experiment with a new build palette texturing style in here, with a lot of jungle and dark oak to contrast with the roofs and pretty simple spruce walls, just to throw in a village in, I think I gave myself 2 days IRL to build this entire village and just see what I could come up with, and I really was just winging it in the process, and I'm pretty happy with how it came together. So you can see a lot of villagers. They've got these little dry, cold storage rooms underneath their homes. And then they have very simple interiors actually in the houses, with just a bed and a workstation for the villagers, because fully ready to go. How did you even get stuck in there? Anyways, inside here we have a little chicken coop along the road, and as we exit out, we've got a few fields, and right over here we have another goat pasture. And the way to keep goats in a field is you have to tie them to leads, otherwise they will leap out and then get pulled back in here. So, you know, they can't really leave too much, which is great. That way we have our decorative goats around, and it's perfect. But of course, out here we do also have another donkey way station. Yep, I'm still including those everywhere, don't you worry. We do have a road connecting all the way out here, which kind of swoops along this direction. And when I was building the road, I got lost and accidentally built it going all the way out there before I realized I was on the wrong peninsula. So we do have a start of a road going out to what could be a future project out at that point for maybe a lighthouse or something. That could be kind of fun. But then the road coming from our fishing village along the river just extends throughout here all the way back in and links in with my newer road style, incorporating a lot more of our packed mud, going into my older road style, which is literally just coarse dirt. Part of me would love to come back through and redo all of these roads, but I also just know realistically I will never put that much extra time into redoing something. I'd rather just do new things in the world because I think it looks fine currently. But anyways, back over here, we are on to the next region of the world. We're going to start moving west as we can walk across this bridge right here next to our little town that takes us into a custom birch forest. Pine tree forest? I don't really know. I thought I could make a cool custom birch tree back when the birch update was no longer going to be a thing with the wild update, so I built a bunch of these guys and made a whole custom forest, and I honestly really don't like the trees. I think they look fine. It's not anything that I'm going to redo, but there's a whole custom birch forest out here, and it was a really fun project to work on. In the middle of the forest, we do have a little like wild herbalist house in here. They've got all their own little stuff. We got a bit of a pond out here that once had frogs in it. They have all disappeared. And moving along, we do have a bit of a snowy, I think it was a stony shore biome actually. So you can see the darker biome coloring up there. So that's all moss covered, where everything else is grass. So I was able to get rid of as much of the biome tinting as I could. But here in the middle, which I really should open this road up. Honestly, I think I'm just going to do that right now. We're just going to move all these guys over. Let's go bam, 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 bam. I need to open this up some more. Yeah, much better. Much, much better. Just a little bit more open, as this is supposed to be like a hunting cabin, a hunting lodge. They got their hunting dogs over here, but it's also the main road that I used to get throughout that region. So maybe it's just I need to make a new main road somewhere else to have a second way to get far across the world, because that's a little skinny for a main road to be able to venture throughout here. But anyways, you live and you learn, and you grow as you go throughout a Minecraft world. And if you don't have a few builds that you cringe at, then are you really even playing Minecraft? Come on now. Over here, however, we've got a few more fields, and we're back over at the big monolith thing for our gas farm, where we will take a look at the Nether and the end a little later on in the tour, as there's not too much stuff in there compared to what we have in the overworld. A lot of hours put into both of them, but just not as much fun stuff to look at. So we can exit out of the edge of the birch forest, which was right throughout there, and we are coming across another village. This one I built over here for the flower forest. So you're going to see a ton of tulip fields. This used to be, well, is a flower forest biome, and I wanted to build a bunch of flower farms and have it make sense lore-wise in the world. So whenever I need tulips, I can come out here. I built a whole village, as there's a village right next to it, so I retrofitted the village, kept all the villagers in here, so they're kind of walking around. They got a bunch of homes throughout, all themed after different professions. We got a little kitty. Oh, hi, buddy. We have a little chapel to the world tree in here, as they're trying to like grow a sapling and clean an iron golem who's taking a bath apparently. But thought it was a really fun way of doing some sort of a chapel and having it open to the sky to help the sapling grow and everything. That was just kind of a fun vibe. In the middle, we do have a market surrounded by some more custom houses and things, just very colorful, trying to get a lot of prismarine, warped wood, and dark prismarine, and just getting those lighter teal colors in here for the roofs. I thought was just kind of a fun pop, and then some orange walls in here, just giving a lot more fun pop of colors as we're in the flower village with all of our tulip fields and everything. And then we can exit out this way, where we did lose one villager during the construction of the town, so he got a gravestone, thankfully only one. But we have all of the tulip fields. So on this side, I have all the pink tulip fields, but I actually have all of the farms in here. So this is for red tulips inside of this space. You can see by the terracotta on the front, we have our orange tulips, we have our pink tulips, and then over here we have our white tulips symbolized by light gray. Because why they give light gray dye, I don't know, but they do. And this road currently goes nowhere. It just kind of loops around the edge of the fields and ends out there as an access point to hit all of them. Then also for the final flowers that you can get out of a flower forest, over here we have an azure bluette and an allium field, and I've claimed them all apparently. And I'm out of bone meal over here too, so I can't even make any more, but that's great. You can see the back of the custom mountains over there. Very much need to bring those to the ground. But going off of this side where we have all of the white tulips, we have a big old sheep farm here for a shepherd from the village to be able to live out here and come and stop by. It has, however, turned into many villagers have come over and decided to spend the night, and they're having a great time. I'll let you guys have your slumber party. Have a great time. Make sure you get some sleep before the sun comes back up, though. Here we are along the back of the gas farm, and then hidden inside of here, I have a nether tree farm for the warped and crimson wood types. I don't like to auto farm many things, but I have been exceptions for mangrove as well as the nether trees, because I'll be honest, I hate gathering both of them. They're both all three of them. All three of those are absolutely terrible to gather. And I find that if I hate gathering a tree type, I stop using the tree type. So in order to make it something that I want to build with, as I would love to keep building with a ton of things, I made auto farms for all of those. And you can see the back untextured side of the landscape that still needs to be finished up, and all of the horses we will explain in about 30 seconds. Over here though, I do have another sheep farm that has all of a single type of sheep. So you can see they're all light gray in here. So if I ever need light gray wool, this thing has been pumping out light gray wool like crazy, which is very, very good news. And then over here to connect in with that one, we have the horse racetrack, where I am going through the process of finding the fastest possible horse in Minecraft. I'm currently at 14.229. The fastest possible horse in Minecraft is 14.232. I'm 0.003 blocks per second off of the fastest possible horse in Minecraft. We'll go visit him in a moment because there's a great story about it. But anyways, on that big theme where I was going through just doing crazy coloring and splotches of color, you can see that I was still in that phase when I built up this roof up here with the crimson and the green and all of the warped and the copper and everything. But inside of here, we have a lot of our faster horses that are looking pretty good. None of the prime stallion is not over here, but a lot of the quick ones that I'm trying to use to breed up to get that fastest possible one are there. And then all of the ones that go out to pasture that we don't need anymore, they're all hanging out over here and slowly phasing through the fences and starting to climb their way up the mountain. And I'm just waiting to see when I finally see a horse somehow sitting all the way up there. It's gonna happen one day, I'm sure of it. But over here, we have a whole horse racetrack, as I wanted to be able to test the horses and see how quick they could go. It was a really, really fun project to be able to make this. It's got redstone, it's got firework rockets, it's got everything you could need. So we got a little starting point right over there with a tripwire hook. It'll light the lamp on. And then if you go all the way around this whole track, which swoops all the way throughout here, and then you go through it again, it'll turn the lights off, and then you'll see firework rockets come throughout here. And I have a whole timer system, which basically just moves blocks of dirt from this barrel down into this barrel. And every single block of dirt, that's your time. So I've got 3 stacks in 47 and 3 stacks in 46. I've got some pretty good times on the board. This racetrack, I think, is themed after San Antonio from the Formula 1 racetrack. It's one of those. It's one of the ones down in Texas. Very, very loosely themed off of it, which was pretty fun. But before we got to the long distance horse racing going all the way around for a full lap, I have trials over here where we have 3 blocks so we can see how they can jump, and we've got 4 blocks and we've got 5 blocks. Still working on the highest jumper that we can get, and that would be 5 blocks up here and then a few pieces of snow that'll just allow you to move the thing up just up to 8 layers to create a full block, so you can move it up just a little bit to really fine tune that one. So we got more snow in here. And then for a quick sprint course, we've got tripwire hook right here, and you can see a tripwire hook all the way down there at the end. So you can run that and see your time with the horse going all the way from one side to the other two, which is super fun. Just as some cool ways to be able to test the horses and do something more entertaining. And then to help fund all of the horse breeding and everything, I've got a few farmer villagers in here that are able to just trade me golden carrots, so I didn't have to run anywhere else. I could just keep buying golden carrots from them, and I was all set. We're gonna head back east for a moment, as I want to go pick up my horse Radish, as we can ride them all the way to the west side of the world, and I can just show you how fast the horse is right now. It's a little nuts. Radish here, I unfortunately lost a while ago. I was building the fishing village on the far side of that castle, and I lost them. No, we're gonna go the other way. I didn't lead them up when I left at one point, because I used to have a mod that made it so with a horse with a saddle would just stand still. That mod is no longer updated in Minecraft, so they just started wandering one day when I logged back in after I updated, and I lost them. But about 800 days in-game later, I was able to find Radish again. I actually found them in the last episode while building up the mountain. I just completely out of nowhere saw them just standing on top of a mountain on the far side over there. Oh, it was so nice. I was just grinning from ear to ear. I was so happy to find this horse again. Seconds later, we are back at the Flower Forest Village, where we've got all the red tulips over there and all of our orange tulips going out this way, with a new custom tree where I tore one down and rebuilt that guy because I love him. We got a little workstation out here, and we can head on further west to find a brand new builds within this world. Signifying we're kind of leaving this area, I've got a cool custom bridge here where I added some prismarine and warped wood just for like a fun color pop that I think was really cool seeing it all come together. Then we can move our way up here where we've got the next point, as I have the ultimate goal of getting the fastest possible mule in Minecraft. So first up, we have to get the fastest possible horse. We are almost there with this lovely radish right over here. That's super fast. And now I'm working on the fastest possible donkey, where I currently have a 14.207 donkey. Look how fast this donkey is. I am absolutely flying on this dude. I think as he's slightly smaller than the horse, he feels faster, but he's not quite there. He's great. He's really, really good. So I'm trying to work on getting them to be even faster, pretty much up to the speed of Radish, and then I'm gonna try breeding them together for a mule and seeing if we can get the fastest possible one there. So this is just kind of a fun side project for something to do. Just breeding a ton of donkeys. They probably need some more space there. This is also why I started the donkey way station, so I could get rid of some of these donkeys. So I've spread them out throughout the world instead of them all just being here. But as we head further down this road, over the left side of the screen, you can probably see a brand new village where I decided around the holidays this last year that I wanted to build a mining village. So over there, we have a whole village themed around an iron mine. We have to go all the way up here. Oh, there's my first trail rune, by the way. Very, very cool. And we got to go all the way up here to get over to the mining village. We got another crossroads. We're going to the left this time, as it's going to link down into that village. Radish, I'm gonna drop you off here. Don't get stuck on a berry bush, okay? But down this way, we've got a little canary, definitely a canary. We've got a bee who really, really likes hanging out here. Oh, okay, goodbye. And then we've got our iron mine that is completely spawn-proof as you go throughout. So it's just a bunch of small tunnels that I dug out just to give the idea that there is an iron mine in here. You can see a little bit of iron in the walls as we're moving throughout, and it goes pretty far deep underground. As whenever I build something, I don't want to just be like down there and around the corner and it stops. I want to give that good exploration idea for when y'all get the world download, you can go check things out and actually see and experience the places around here. So going with another new build theme here of a lot of this whitewashed and dead coral and everything, and another donkey way station with our patented build for them. But we have these lighter tones in the bottom for our stones being kind of whitewashed. Then we have a lot of the spruce, and then the roofs are very much that deep slate and tough just to wrap it all in here together. And we've just got a few simple builds right over in here. There's just the two and a little sheep pen and a carrot field right behind. Some extra detailing around. This is very much just kind of a fun filler episode build of just a cool project to do. Something that I hadn't done before or in a really long time that I wanted to throw in the world. So we got a little house there. We've got a blacksmith forge up there. And we've got a few more houses in like a small cul-de-sac of sorts here that leads ourselves down to a little dock. So boats could come up here, pick up their iron shipments, and this dock, if we carve that out a little bit there, we are right over here. And if we come over this way and literally just carve right through there, just a few blocks, we can connect into the rest of the river network that actually fills in and connects to every part of this world. Alrighty, Radish, let's head on farther west. We got more stuff to see. As out this way now, there's a really cool mountain up there that's a warm weather mountain with just a stone on top, and I really want to do like a ruined castle up there. I think it'd be just really fun to be able to see some ancient ruins as we walk by. We've also got this tiny little wheat farm over here, just like with some sheepies in there, and then they just got a big old wheat field out the back, just a little settlement. When I was building this road to connect the western and eastern parts of my world, I want to just add some point of interest areas as we move across. So when we are moving here into the savannah biome, I made sure to send us through this village as an idea that I eventually want to transform it, and I think it's going to be super cool. For now, it's just the default Minecraft village and a project on the forever expanding to-do list. But exiting out of the village, you can see the first step of those like ruins that I was talking about, where I did actually make some as an ancient gatehouse that used to be walling off this valley here. You can see the crumbled, ruined walls and things as you just would have to walk through here, or they used to stop people entering the region. Maybe some old country border of sorts was right there. I don't know. I just thought it was a cool idea. And I want to just add, again, another point of interest as we're moving across. Up over this bluff as we continue on, the next point of interest is you can see a boat out there in the water, just kind of trolling along, doing its own thing, transporting goods around the world. And then also, luckily, we found another village right here that I think would be super fun to work on a custom one, as it really just kind of works its way up and down these hills. And I'm pretty sure this is the one that has 3 chapels to it. Maybe it's just 2. I don't know. Regardless, there's a lot of them, and they're floating. They got some crazy magic over here. But as we leave around this way, I put this rock here to kind of block your view as you're coming in and catching glimpses of the desert. This has been such a fun project to work on out here. Going through a sparse jungle biome to reach the desert, I wanted to bring that lushness into the deserts itself along the waterways that we have. So you can see what I call the desert way station as we enter in, where there's camels that can help take you across. And this is actually my nether portal and entrance into the region. And excuse me, Radish, a little bit of a storage room in here if I need to do, you know, the more survival gameplay elements instead of my horse galloping across the wilds. But over here we have a big old mesa biome, which is so very fun and cool and awesome. And Radish, you're gonna hang out here for just a moment, as this mesa biome, you can see, has regular sand inside of it. I tore out all of the red sand stretching through this area, and actually tore out an entire section of the mesa to create a river for a bit of a Nile River atmosphere, stretching all the way back here as a project that I do want to keep expanding and cleaning up the riverbeds. You can see I still have more red sand to tear out over there, but it was so cool to be able to do this. And I actually missed a few pieces of red sand, it looks like. Oh no. But it's just such a fun environment along the edge of the river with these big old palm trees, a lot of this lush foliage in here. We got pitcher pods, we got sugarcane for the new Papyrus region, and it's just really cool seeing it all coming in here together. The biome tinting is kind of making it a little rough, but it's in the desert, so it's okay. And now that we have the dry grass, I want to come back and add that in along the edges here to kind of blend that into the desert even more. Then one of my most important farms I have ever built is this monument thing right out here, trying to mimic the idea of the monument that we have for the gas farm. I thought we should have something like that out here in the desert as well, with our red sand coming in to mimic that, or to really show that this is the mesa biome, or was the mesa biome. So I want to bring a lot of that back in here. And then inside of this obelisk, we have a seed farm. So if I just flick that lever on, the farm is now running. It might be out of bone meal, but over some time, there would be seeds coming up here that get shot out at the top of the monument. They get collected and they just come right back into here. As you can see, I've raided a good amount of them. Oh, no, you can see a few seeds coming out right now. Oh, it still has bone meal in it. That's awesome. This region has been one of my favorite to work on for a really long time here, so you can see a lot of expansions coming throughout it, but we'll grab Radish and go by horse. Alrighty, buddy, let's get moving. Where we can follow this new form of a path out here, where I am using the inside texture of mushroom blocks. We're using birch, and we're using stripped birch logs to make it look a little bit darker than our sand. And you can see that we have a lot of fields right here with a newer carrot field. We've got what I'm calling like a saffron field. I know it's not accurate at all to the realistic plant, but I wanted to use crimson roots out here for just like a fun red field. Felt like it worked out well in the desert. We will go left along the crossroads again. I think we've taken a left at almost every crossroads so far, but this is the route that we're going again. Alrighty. As we have a smaller space to explore before we get over to the big city, where I recently, very recently, as in 2 episodes ago, transformed this entire section of land out here into some salt flats. Why? For absolutely no reason whatsoever, other than I apparently wanted to place down 6,000 bone blocks to fill it all out. So you can see these flatter plains where when the high tide would come in, it would fill up with water. And then as the tide would go out, the salt would get left behind, or some water would get left behind, and then it would all get dried out underneath the sun, leaving just the salt behind. And so we have this really cool path coming all the way down here. This took far too many hours than I care to admit to build out, but it looks really good. And then to have boats not running ashore into the salt flats, I built a little lighthouse out here that I think is just so cute, sitting out here in the middle of the ocean, just as kind of like a, hey, avoid this thing as you're going into the harbor of New Papyrus. Headed back over this way, we've got some more villagey things that are looking pretty cool out here, and we can leave Radish right here as we walk on in. We've got a little place where they're able to build out boats, which I'm saying they're using the papyrus reeds of sorts, almost like using the bamboo just for the Minecrafty sake, to hollow out some holes of boats so that they can use these little tiny skippers to be able to go along here, which you have some over at the dock right there. A very unique boat design that I've come up with, kind of inspired by something you would see in old ancient Nile times on the Nile River, from what we were able to get some research out of, and then mixed with like Viking boats, or how they're able to go underneath bridges really easily when they're invading England. Kind of took some inspiration from that too. Anyways, though, here's my desert village that I've transformed. We got some horses, we got some camels. There were a ton of villagers out here. Most of them have died as I've been working in the area, so it's not the safest place. Wouldn't go AFK here, but nonetheless, it's a very, very cool village that I think is absolutely awesome to be able to walk through, and just kind of fits in very nicely across the edge of the lake from where we have the big old city we'll be getting to in a moment. But we've got a small fish market right over here, dividing the big channel on how you can get from the ocean into the river network. We got these big old obelisks here. It's kind of the entry point of the archway, similar to what you have with the Argonauts, something like that. Lord of the Rings, big dudes with the hands sticking out. You know what I'm talking about. Kind of like that, but minus the big dude and minus the hands, and just actually a pillar with a little light on top of it with some end rods and candles. Same thing. But over here, we've got a few boats in the harbor. This one's kind of wonky. I tried looking up some old school art renderings. I think that bunny just drowned. Yeah, that bunny's a goner. Oh, that bunny's in the water. He's donezo. But I tried looking up some old like royal skiffs of sorts that they would use to go up and down the rivers and just kind of have a procession of the prince or whoever would want to just go out for a float day, you know, as we all wish we could do. And I came up with that. It's not my favorite, but it does work out fairly well. And over here, we have those river boats at dock with their sails up. And so the idea is that they could just pop those out, lay them down, and get underneath the bridges easily. But then they can also use the winds off of the ocean, like that guy is out there with his sail down, to really fly up and down and do all their fishing and travel along the waterways as they need. This was the storage room I was using as I was building everything out in here. So there's a little bit of survival stuff left over. It's looking pretty good. I do need to come through and add more of that dry grass throughout here, which is pretty fun. But then over on this side, you can see I have actually added it in for our coastal region, where I just wanted some big old rocks to be able to like stop the waves a little bit from crashing right into the village. Thought it was a fun vibe, and then recently came back through and added in a ton of this dry grass, which I think was a great call. I'm a little ashamed to say that it's been 14 days in game now since I finished the last video, and all I've done so far is tour around this world. I haven't done anything for 14 days in Minecraft. Then we hit all as bad as 14 days of touring around the world. What am I doing? This world is massive. Anyways, here's one of those bridges that they would have to take the sail off to get underneath, because I thought it was a really, really cool design for a bridge. And then this used to, well, I mean, not used to be, those are authentic Minecraft villager houses that are still up there. And then there's one right over here. There actually was a village stretching right through here, and industry had to happen. So we had to kick out all of the locals and rehome them and bring a road through, you know, just natural, easy, super easy stuff. But don't worry, I was nice about it if I rebuilt their village right over here. So we have a big old farming village where I have trapped a few of the villagers around, and we're just going to lead Radish up here for a moment. That's down there so no villagers can come up to the top. Over here, we have an automatic carrot farm where it looks like it's no longer automatic because I'm not seeing a villager on the inside. He must have died to a zombie. That's okay. Well, no automatic carrot field, but automatic potato field down there. Yeah, see, totally super great. I wanted to get some auto farms out here just as I worked in the region. I thought it'd be fun. So we've got some melons in the middle. Then we got our potatoes so that they'll harvest them. Sweet berries so it's not drawing the attention of the villager. And then we have our carrots and sweet berries on the far side so that they only wanted to stay inside their fields. And then it should be fully spawn proof for them to get out. And I did glow lichen out this entire lushified region over here and built a little tiny aqueduct system of sorts where they could use these windmills to pull water out of the river and up using, like, what was that, the Archimedes wheel or some, I don't know, ancient technology thing. Get the water to flow up in these channels, and those channels are able to come in here and hydrate the fields. And I did make sure to make it so that the village can't actually get out. They can't jump like that. They don't think that's a block. Only the player can. So they're actually fully stuck in there. And I thought I had made it so that zombies and things couldn't get in, but that's okay. We got these windmills around here that are very inspired by Age of Empires, what you'd see in Age of Empires 2 for a lot of those Middle Eastern factions that they have in there. The bottom one of this actually has a storage room for the carrot and potato farms. It's all the way down there where they come into one place with a water streams, bringing them all together. We got an outdoor little cooking oven here with a big old thing that you can load breads in and take them out and whatnot. Just the little center of the village in here, kind of a nice open vibe. There used to be villagers around it. I don't know what happens to all of my villagers. They seem to get themselves hurt. Inside of here, speaking of things getting themselves hurt, I thought I would build a lovely sanctuary for camels. These lovely dudes, aren't they so cool? Oh, I was so excited to get camels in my world, and I looked it up on the wiki, and I was like, oh my gosh, what do camels eat to breed in Minecraft? Oh, cactus. Yeah, great. Let's put cactus everywhere. This is absolutely awesome. we're gonna put that all around. The camels lay down on the cactus and get themselves killed. So now they just live in there. The camels are not allowed out of that. They just kept walking into the cactus and get themselves killed. So we have this cute, awesome little oasis down here with our palm trees and our lush stuff and a lot of little succulents with amethyst buds up on the edges. Before cactus flowers were in the game, I put torch flowers on top of them because I thought it looked cool. And then down in the middle of this, the most essential farm anybody's ever going to need, a sea pickle farm. Who doesn't need 90,000 sea pickles in an hour? Come on now, this is great. Look at all them pickles. But that's this little village out here. And again, with that orange sandstone little spike for a monument obelisk-y thing as you enter in, just to kind of give it some extra fun color and vibes to take away from sandstone on sandstone on sandstone. I know it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to like have this in here with our birch and oak, but just think of that as like a darker sandy color. And I think it works out pretty well instead of being wood. So I'm really happy with how that little village came together. But we can keep venturing down the road as we can head on over into the city, which is very much still a work in progress. Had a massive recent expansion to it that I love so very much, but there's still a lot of stuff left to do in here, as none of it currently connects to the ground. So that is a-okay. Where can I park you? We can just park Radish right over here. First off, starting here in the Blue Axolotl Bazaar. I had never seen a blue axolotl in Minecraft, and I thought it would be lovely to get one. Painstakingly, many hours later, we have Booger right here, the first blue axolotl ever in this world, living and swimming in here with their lovely little family. Oh, that was such a pain to get. But no axolotls were harmed in the making of Booger. Don't worry, absolutely none. I'm clean, I didn't do it. See, 0 axolotls killed. Was not me. I mean, no, none were killed. Yeah, nothing happened to the axolotls. But inside of here, we have Booger. They're living in their lovely little tank, very blue themed in the Blue Axolotl Bazaar. And then right over here, we've started the expansion into the city. We're trying to be a little bit inspired by what I saw in Assassin's Creed Origins, I think it was. A lot of inspiration art from that lovely game series if you're looking for inspiration art for Minecraft builds. They share a ton of awesome concept art, but they always had these steps going down into the water. So I wanted to mimic that here, just being exactly centered along right over there with the big exit point. I'm pretty sure it's centered. I don't know. We're going to say it's centered and not count the blocks on it. But that was kind of the first addition into this area with, again, those big red sandstone spikes going up. Right over here, we have the output of a humongous sugarcane farm that is super great. Yeah, look at that. Super. Actually, it's doing pretty good. That's not half bad. Where we can access that one underground. And I currently have these two multiple like sections in here. So we got that, and we have this one right here, and I have the ability to stack at least 2 more of them, and mostly just for the absurdity sake of it, I really want to do it. So that might be a project soon, just for fun. It'll make more sugarcane than I ever need to, but I feel like with a place named after sugarcane, well, paper, new papyrus, blah blah blah, we kind of need to have an absurd amount of sugarcane being produced. Out here in the harbor, we got a big old boat we'll check out momentarily, but over here is the first city block in the city here that I created. I'm trying to go with very Middle Eastern inspired architectures mashed up with what I see in, like, again, Assassin's Creed Origins, or just concept art I can find online, and a lot of what you can see in like Age of Empires and those types of games, and just really coming in to my own with a brand new build style that is really fun and centered around kind of a Barcelona grid style. So an outer row of houses around a big city block, and then in the inside there's just a bit of a garden in here. So we got some fishies hanging, we got a lot of community spaces and ways to walk in and out, and you can get into the shops and all those things if there were interiors, as you can go around this entire space. Trying to mimic like a travertine style brick tower. I think I need to tear this one down and redo it and do like every other, so 2 sandstone, 1 tuff, 2 sandstone, 1 tuff instead of every other like this. It's just a little too much, but I think it's okay. It just is a little loud. So we have a few more buildings coming around over here. There's back to the sugarcane point, and you can see just a lot of simple shapes bringing together the city, but in a really fun vibe. In the most recent addition here, we have this big old acacia tree as a custom acacia tree sitting out over the corner of the street, just to offer a little bit of shade. And we have a ton of new buildings over here, much bigger ones that we have on that block, as this is meant to be a bit of a richer city block in there. First up, we have a giant bazaar here, which is a huge marketplace that we need to come through and fill out with a bunch of market stalls. So this is just kind of base process of it with a fountain and some benches and our coverings over the top. We got some palm trees and a bit of a garden right over here with some wildflowers, and then there's going to be buildings stacking across that entire way, probably 4 or 5 more of them if I can fit them all in. And then we have these big old structures over here, which are really, really cool coming together. So we got a sandstone one, we got another mud brick one, kind of taking the same ideas we have with the first block, and just really bringing out some new elements, mishmashing them, and seeing where we can take it all. So you might have seen that warehouse that we have on the front with this kind of blue terracotta and the copper in there. Kind of stole that and just slapped it on here, and I think it worked out pretty well. Yeah, creating a build city theme, you know? The city's got to be cohesive with each other, so it's okay to repeat things. We got Endstone coming in here to be kind of like a weird warped, weathered, kind of ocean spray has deformed it and brushed a lot of the color off type of brick. Or maybe it was like painted that color and now it's being weathered back down to this stuff. I don't know. I just think it's a cool way to add some texture into your desert builds. This building right here is probably my favorite of the new additions. I just think it looks absolutely awesome. The shape on it is super, super fun. Being able to have this tower here, we got this wooden element. And if we come all the way back over here, you should be able to see a bit of a dome poking out the top of it, which is, again, very, very cool. Just adding a lot more depth into the build. We can see as we jump right back over to here, where we've got a cool little garden. Again, very, very fancied up here as we're against the Grand Library of New Papyrus. They've got a cool fountain right over here. And then this pathway leads into a few just small private courtyards that's in this space here. Now they got a nice little way into their house, and there is an upper floor that we just can't reach on foot because there's no stairs inside. But then you can see another one over here with a little outdoor cooking fire, and we have our resin brick in there just for, again, that pop of orange, taking what we do with the red sandstone and bringing it in with resin to be even more vibrant. That was a fun way of doing it. And we can exit out the other side of the park, which is just cloned on that side to here, and then just slight differences in the trees. We have these last few houses I don't think we really checked out, but they're pretty simple, guys. Just more of those same ideas throughout. And then we can head down this way where we've got more decorative palm trees along like a boardwalk of sorts. We've got some of our warm dogs with the spotted wolf, and then this guy who you, I believe, find in the mesa that I just think is absolutely adorable. And some kitties out here because I keep finding them in there, which we'll get to in a moment. But first, this big old boat. I tried building like a desert Egyptian-y empire style of boat, and it's the first boat that I designed that I was actually decently happy with compared to the structures that I make. I'm not that great at organics, and boats kind of fall into that organic shape idea for me, and so it kind of is a weird one, and I ended up adding this weird like bird beak almost to the front of it as like a protection against the elements type thing, and or like a ramming defensive system. I don't really know, but I think it worked out pretty well. And so it brought together this really kind of wonky looking boat that actually came together fairly well with a lot of different colors to it. And we even have a slight little base setup of an interior, but not too much decorated on the inside quite yet, as we're just really in the beginning stages of filling out the harbor over here too. So I think we're gonna have another one probably diagonal from this guy, just another skinnier, longer boat throughout here most likely. But for now, I'm really focusing on building up the city, like we have the elements right here. You will see micro blocks around my world every once in a while. I have a data pack that allows me to get them for my stone cutter just by putting a mud brick in. It'll give me the mini mud brick here, just as a heads up if you see those. Fully vanilla way of doing it, just through a data pack. And then we have our way back in here, where we have these big red sandstone arches I love so very much. And you can see a lot of books and librarians around. As I have 48 librarians in here, we have a speed beacon that we can activate, and every single one of these librarians sells glass, meaning that I can trade thousands upon thousands of glass every single in-game trading day as long as I have the emerald to do it from all of these librarians up here. And it was an absolute pain to be able to get all of them because you have to unlock them to the third trade to even see if they trade glass. And then you got a zombie cure them and move them around and blah, 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 blah. And it took so much time, y'all. It took so much time to get the 48 villagers. So worth it because it was able to supply so much glass in this world. You'll see in the end tree soon, it supplied hundreds of thousands of glass to our project there. And a few things that we can visit underneath the train that need homes coming sometime soonish. I forgot to turn the villager breeder off. So that guy, though, they made all of them, and those were originally supposed to be only the 48 that went up there, and I forgot to turn it off the entire time I built this place up, so it's a little laggy with that. But we have a very similar setup to what we had in the first villager trading cave with the zombie curing. This time we have a husk instead of those. But inside of here we have the start of a map room that needs to be relocated. So we have over here with episode 53, where I started building out in the village. This was probably 2 episodes after I'd done all of the work over there and the whole biome and everything transformation. So I kind of wish I had an earlier one, but I unfortunately did not make one. And then you can see the library coming into here at episode 70. We've got episode 80 over here with the first expansion into the city docks. And then more recently, we have episode 91, the last episode, where we expanded all of that and we did all the salt flats. So you can see a lot of those really cool things coming together out here. Refreshing on rockets, we got a little bit of a flight here ahead of us, as we are going to be headed off this way, out over the ocean to our next stop, where I've transformed an entire ocean monument. There it is, loading in the distance, and I try and keep everything in my world connected by a road. Obviously not really possible when it's in the middle of the ocean, so we just kind of say it's connected by boats. We could take a boat all the way out here from any of the harbors, so it absolutely makes sense. But this is an ocean monument that I drained probably 2 to 3 times the size of the space that we actually needed. And then I constructed this here in the middle, which I think looks so very cool. Excuse me, Mr. Drown, if you could be a little quiet. I know you're a little cute Halloween 2024 mob, but like, I'm talking here. Thank you. You can see a ton of live coral down here on top of waterlogged mossy cobblestone slabs. We've got water in there because a lot of those are slime chunks, so that stopped the slimes from being able to spawn. And it's below the perimeter of the guardian farm, so no guardians spawn in there. They will all spawn inside this thing, where we might see a few coming throughout the tube in there. It's not the most efficient farm, but for single player, it gets the job done. And then we can just jump down here, and I really need to retrofit this, as my crafting room is very archaic and not that great. But yeah, that's the guardian farm. Super cool. A lot of coral in here that you can see. And I wanted to create something that had 1, live coral roofs on it for fun, and then 2, stretched all the way up to where I could have the proper AFK point for this farm. So inside this little room here, not for the anvils, but I can stand right here, and this is the proper AFK height for the farm. I think I can maybe be a block or 2 higher, but it looks fine. I don't know why this button's here. It doesn't do anything, but it's been there since I built it. I don't know what I was thinking when I did that. My old way of accessing here was with that nether portal right over there. I used to have a raid farm out in that direction, but the raid farm got nerfed and absolutely destroyed in a recent update, so I don't have it anymore. I actually deleted the chunks by mistake recently when I was cleaning things for the new update to bring newer stuff closer to home, but it just gave a new excuse for other ways of getting emeralds in this game. So we're gonna head into the Nether now, as you can see, and we are on top of the Nether, which hopefully will be one of the last world tours where I start out in the Nether on the roof, because I'm actively trying to move everything that I have in the Nether down to underneath. But you can see out here, just for a quick little look around, we've got fog turned very, very far down in the Nether. We've got a massive gold farm over there. We've got my disgusting ghast farm right over there. We've got the output of a drowned farm, which we can go check out in a few from the overworld right over there. That is the portal to get you to new Papyrus. That right over there is a honey bottle farm. We've got our bartering farm right over there, and this is my Nether hub, kind of inspired by a Colosseum, like Roman Colosseum meets cyberpunky glowy lights everywhere is the vibe I was going for. So you can see my original piglin bartering setups going around this thing in an entire circle. They're purely decorative garden statues now, we will say. And then we got the upper rim there just to, I kind of want to stack it up another as we step back, but we'll see if I get around to doing that or not, as I'm mostly trying to build down in that region, which we'll go to in a moment. We've got a hoglin farm down that direction. And then off the fourth end with our magenta glass, I believe it is, we've got a froglight farm and a magma cube farm. Just so I have access to all of those dudes down there in a basalt delta. We have the crimson forest, we have the nether waste, and we have the Soul Sand Valley. I thought it was really cool that I had those in the cardinal directions, so I kind of built that off of the Nether hub itself. Where yes, I did painstakingly blow up all of the bedrock to clear this thing out using that TNT piston technique-y thingy, blah, 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 blah. I don't know how it works. All I know is I spent 6 hours trying to do it, and it was absolutely painful. But coming down here into the actual hellscape of the Nether, we have a giant perimeter cleared out for a wither skeleton farm that I would love to upgrade soon, because I know of a new version that would be so much more efficient than this guy. This one's decent, but it really does not do that well in terms of rates. It's kind of slow. So maybe in the future we will be upgrading this one. We've got our auto crafters for our bones, our coal, our wither skeleton skulls get stored in there. And we did have to clear out this entire perimeter to do that. I've got a little blaze farm over there that I would love to set up a new one. And I have a new project out here in the Nether that I am starting that was kicked off with the Nether tree. Every dimension now has a world tree to it. Woohoo! A dimensional tree. And I love this thing so very much. Just a giant stark white tree with bright copper orange leaves in the Nether. We got all these copper lightning rods hanging down to be like vines hanging from the tree. And my goal is to build a bit of like a cyberpunk-ish style city out here, but mashed up more of the fantasy vibe that I do, and eventually extend it to go all the way around this perimeter so it looks like a big open space in here and will not just look like, you know, gross edge of Nether that's been blown up. But that is a big part of what I've been doing out here in the Nether as of late, and we can head out for the end. First off, we'll visit the copper farm right over there. I tend to not build monstrosities of redstone farms in the overworld, and then, well, this one happened. Not a whole lot of redstone to it, but a whole lot of monstrosity comes around with this one. We have nether portals and giant columns of water that are filled in there with soul sand that send all of our drowned up to the surface. And if I just hang out for here long enough, well, actually they're already here, but there will just be drowned in here, an infinite number of drowned that are just going to be up here doing their thing. So if I ever need copper, or more so nautilus shells and rotten flesh, I can come up here and just get all these things together. And it's the copper is now getting auto crafted over here very slowly, and I need a lot of cleric villagers to help me clear all of this stuff out. But yeah, it's a pretty gross, massive, disgusting drowned farm that actually gives pretty decent rates. There's a skeleton horse here. Is this activated yet? Because this place was the last video I believe I recorded that actually had a thunderstorm in it, or any form of weather. I'm pretty sure it was this place. Okay, he's already friendly. He's not waiting to explode. That's fine. So whenever that episode was, that was probably the last rain and or thunder we saw in this world. But next up, if we head to the end of this diagonal iceboat road pathway that is so difficult to go down, anybody with the world download, if you can figure out how to do that, because I think I just need to expand it a little bit more, but oh, they're a pain. They look so good, but they're painful to go down. Anyways, that gets us into the stronghold that I have definitely super detailed and done so much time and effort and energy into making this place look awesome. Let's go to the end, where, wow, look at that. Oh, the entry, huh? So much better than the stronghold. That stronghold's pretty good though. Stronghold's pretty good, but out here we have the entry. Isn't this awesome? In the end, let's make sure we got that. We got rockets, and we're gonna do a little flippy flap around. I have destroyed the entire end island. I have removed all of the obsidian pillars, even taken more time to remove the bedrock off of the top of all of the pillars, so that I could clear out the entire thing, got rid of all of the end stone, and rebuilt it up as this beautiful tree with an end rod canopy to the top of it. Would never recommend doing it. That's about 30,000 end rods. It was absolute pain. And then these big tendrils of branches going up all over the place, just kind of all over here, trying to be like a floating in the universe, just somewhere in space tree that I think is really cool. I think I could definitely expand it and make it much more grand, but this was something at the time that I felt like was a huge project on top of removing all of the land here. I probably spent about 400 days in game doing this thing, and it was a lot. I was also still learning tools like Axiom at the time, so I tried making this into like a storm of glass down here to show some like ethereal cosmic presence to it, and I was still in the beginning learning phases of it. So with my skill set at the time, I was able to make something I'm happy with. I think if I were to redo it now, I could probably make it a lot better, but I think it's a pretty fun way of doing something. Out here we have the classic Enderman farm right over there, and then we have a Skulk farm right over there that also basically the same thing with Endermen that'll fall down into there and then they get burned up and all that cool stuff. Not super impressive for just technical farms on the edge, but this is something that I think could be really cool to expand on in the future. We do have a fairly recent expansion to it. We've got a little wither killing station right there. The dragon egg currently sits here. I want to rehome it somewhere else in this world. I'm just not too sure where yet. And then we have this big old fWhip written in the Minecraft enchanting language. Was that like the galactic alphabet or something that Minecraft uses? So that just spells fWhip. I thought it was kind of fun to add these big old floating rocks out in the void there to give more context to everything being floating. But that is most of what I've done out here in the end. Oh, I left Radish all the way out in Papyrus. I'll have to go get them. Taking a quick scroll across the world map here, you can see everything that I've been doing over the last 10,000 days in this hardcore Minecraft world. We have been working on this thing for nearly 4 years now, which is just absolutely crazy to say. It's almost my longest standing Minecraft world in terms of time. It now is my most played in Minecraft world that I've ever had. Of my old Building with fWhip series actually ended just shy of 9,000 days. So we are actually all the way up here at 10,000 now, meaning this is the longest I've ever played in a single Minecraft world. Absolutely insane. And I don't do much AFKing at all. I would say only 400, maybe 500 days of that counter might be AFKing or just like idling in storage rooms and forgetting to pause. If I just had that time up of a few minutes here, a few minutes there, or the essential times where I have had to AFK for like an hour or something like that as the only way to get the material. But I really try and put all of that directly into playtime and doing a lot of things with it. So I do hope you have enjoyed the tour around today. If you would like to see an in-depth look through in my stats and everything, let me know down in the description or down in the comments below, and I can create a video on my second channel going really in-depth into the stats that I have done inside this world. So if you're curious, let me know down in the comments below. But thank you so very much for watching. I would very much appreciate if you give this video a thumbs up. It helps me out so very much with getting this out into the YouTube algorithm and sharing along with everybody else what I have been able to do inside of this world over the last 10,000 days. I'm gonna keep repeating that. That's such a cool thing to be able to say. I can finally say it. Well, now 10,016 days. Yeah, it took 16 days to tour around this world. Okay, well, right. Okay, subscribe, click the like button, all that cool stuff. I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye.